So let's kick it on over to our main screen and give the floor to you. So, welcome everybody to Modern Day Debate. I am your host, Ryan, and we have for us tonight a debate evolution on trial. And thank you everybody for coming out and joining us at Modern Day Debate. We're going to give Max the floor for up to 6 minutes. So, Max, the floor is all yours, and thank you for being here.
So give me just a second. I will share my screen.
All right,
Where's
let's
the
pause
damn
that
button
there.
there? Share screen one, and let me pull up my. There we go.
Excellent time for people to like the stream, share it out in those contentious spaces that you like having these debates. All right, I see a screen share. It is you in OBS.
All right. Oh no, shoot.
Not
uh,
that
the,
one?
not that one. Yes, this one.
All right, evolution debate. Max from Matters Now.
Yes.
You have the floor, and I'm going to start your timer now.
All right. So I thought when preparing for this debate that I could bring pretty much the arguments that we're all used to. So I tried to do something different. So I thought about going down the topic of human evolution happening today. The Bahau people are a people who have adapted and evolved for freediving. And I will also show the case of the Twa pygmies who have adapted and evolved for tree climbing. So we're going to broadly describe two mechanisms for evolution. One would be adaptation, in which it's mechanical. So from free diving regularly, their lungs expand, their what's the organ? The spleen enlarges, and they get better peripheral vasoconstriction. This, in turn, with the successive generations, leads to a genetic change. So people first start getting the mechanistic changes, and then those changes get inherited into their offspring. Uh, in the evolution of the Bahau, and I have a paper cited um, to which I consulted, they dive so much because of their way of life. They're sea nomads of Southeast Asia, and they basically get bigger lung capacity, larger spleens, roughly about 50% on average, larger than other humans, and better peripheral vasoconstriction. That is, their capillaries close in order to keep blood into the more important organs, preventing hypoxia damage. So first we get the mechanistic changes, and then we get the genetic changes, which get inherited into their offspring. And on this study, it was conducted among the people of that region of Southeast Asia. And the result is that only the Bahau contain this specific gene that gives them this capacity for free diving. They can hold their breath for upwards of 10 minutes, and they have all of these adaptations because of their way of life. And this is basically evolution in action happening in humans today. And then we have the evolution of the Twa pygmies, who are regular tree climbers, and their changes amount to the morphology of the foot changing. Their calf muscles elongate in order to accommodate for the position in which they tree climb, and their ankle flexibility is greatly improved. So here we have the same case, morphological changes, which over time and with generations get written, quote unquote, into their genetic code. And here we have a sample of a Twa pygmy and a chimpanzee, and the way they climb is very, very similar. So for reference, their ankles exhibit a flex of about 45 degrees, roughly, when humans, you and I, anyone basically, the flex upwards on the ankle is about roughly 15 degrees. So this is the mechanism of human evolution happening today, which we can verify. The links are in my presentation, and I will provide a link for everyone. If you go to bit.ly /MxXevolution, you get access. I put there on my Google Drive the presentation, the papers, and you can verify this all by yourselves. And here we have another sample of the morphology of the foot actually changing to accommodate for this type of tree climbing that they do. And finally, I found other studies, but with the limited time for the opening, I found a paper on the adaptation, the same kind of adaptation for high altitude living amongst the people of Tibet, and also another paper on
1 minute.
the Inuit adaptation to their extreme climate and very specific diet. So it's not the only examples, it's just the one that I chose. And this is very important, human evolution happening today in modern times, basically. And finally, I would like to say that we will be hosting an after show on Matters Now, and the link there you have for my presentation and the papers that I cited on this. So I'm looking forward to the conversation. And I would like to ask the people who are defending creationism, what predictions does creationism do that would make it a superior model than the scientific model that we have today? And with that, thank you so much, and looking forward to this.
All right. Well, thank you so much. With 5 seconds on the clock, I'm going to reset that there. And can you hear me now, audience? Yes, I've got my OBS audio turned up. So we are going to debate evolution on a trial. You just heard Max's intro. We do hope that you hit the like button and share this out in the spaces that you like having these debates. We are going to do a Q&A at the end of the discussion, so get a super chat in now if you want to have your question read with priority. Over to you, Jen. You are on mute right now, but yeah, if you want to take yourself off mute, you have 6 minutes on the floor to present your case for evolution.
It looks like it won't let me share my presentation, and I need to restart Zoom.
Oh,
Sorry about this. I'm on a new computer. What should I do?
if you want to pop out for a second, we can.
Okay.
Yeah, it only takes a few seconds. So yeah, if you want to pop out, we can go over to main screen here. Yeah, we're still on our share screen. So once again, we'll just do some housekeeping. So Carissa, Max, Salvador, and Jen are here. We're doing our evolution on trial debate. I will say, yeah, this is a great opportunity to hit that like button and try to boost us up in the algorithm. We've almost cracked over 200 here. We just started the stream. So if you guys can give us a helping hand here, it just takes a little touch. I've actually hit the like button with my nose before. I can't beg people enough, Anyway, so Jennifer is back already. Sweet. I knew it wouldn't take very long. There we go. Connecting audio indeed. All right, you ready to roll?
Yeah, sorry about the mini delay there. Is that working?
We're not seeing yet. So if you go to the Zoom share screen, there we
Okay,
go. All right. We'll never forgive you for this, honestly. No. All right. So go ahead. I'll reset the time, actually. So you got 6 minutes on the floor. Jen, your presentation for evolution.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Modern Day Debate. Thanks, Max, for the wonderful presentation. I love that you put some new ideas out there. Kind of gets a bit tired to trot through the same points over and over again. So it's really great to see that. Welcome, Carissa, for your first evolution debate, and nice to see you again, Sal. I'll be debating the positive side of evolution for a change, I guess. Hi, I'm Jen. Nice to meet you. I really want to sort of trudge through this quickly. I only have 15 more seconds for the next 5 slides, so already I'm way behind, but I really wanted to get a chance to actually explain my theory this time. So I'll just let you read that, yeah, I'm qualified to do this debate if anyone is. I could pretty much take either side because you can disagree with two sides of a false dichotomy, which is basically what it boils down to. Yada, 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 metaphysical equivalence. I really wanted to move forward to actually give a somewhat decent explanation as to how my model really works. So the biggest hurdle people have usually with understanding non-dualistic thinking is the top-down approach. Now, this is just a general epistemic technique. Anytime you're thinking about something, it's in a top-down fashion. So once you know what that means, it's a lot easier to follow, before which it's just like, what? Sounds like Greek, only worse. So top-down basic idea is we're starting with the unconditioned universe and just working our way down one condition at a time. And that's why those first few conditions are what your model's ultimately going to turn on, and why I often encourage people to question their suppositions in a strategic way so that we can get to these parsimonious depictions of often unstated conditional suppositions that allow us to make models in the first place. So how does this model work? It's an evolution model where we're starting with a barren Earth. So Earth with what we would have if there was no life. So probably a moon, some water, and the planet. And the argument is basically that this combined motion of these bodies sets up a hydrological pump that forces the atmosphere into the proximity of the planet Earth within the interval set forth by the moon. So what does that end up doing? It creates a funnel for light energy. No one's going to disagree with that. It's just a more thermodynamic, physics-oriented way of expressing evolution, which is where I think the theory really can be defended in an abstract, unconditioned direction rather than the materialist direction, which, because materialism employs bottom-up epistemology, is almost never going to accord with the top-down non-dualistic. If it was according, it would basically be by pure chance. So we start with thinking about the entire planet as a bounded system. We have this action, and then we're going to have a reaction, which is going to minimize the action. And then the reaction is going to be minimized. And then the reaction to the reaction gets minimized. So it's a cascading dominoes until finally we'll see how it balances itself out and has not a full homeostasis, because that would just be like the sun is always going to be inputting photons, so it's not going to be a pure homeostasis, but we approach a homeostatic array where things don't change that much. All right, so what is the first level of evolution? That is species that are going to fix these chemicals of heightened potential thermal and chemical energy, fix them to their bodies, and which is going to minimize the effect that they can have on the environment. So get all this accumulation of plant-like species at first. And the total collection of all the plants becomes the reaction to the initial action. And this reaction is also minimized. So by the least action principle, every action is minimized. It's something you can keep applying recursively to your system and will still generate new information interestingly. It's called non-trivial self-reference. So the next level, well, what do we have? Stimulus coming in of a bunch of plant life. And the reaction to that is to minimize the plant life. So organisms that can eat and chew, get a mouth evolving, sexual organs evolving. And these are still very simple life forms that just eat whatever's around. The next step, which is the major step, which is the step towards intelligence, we get competition for predation for these members at the second level. So we have these chilled out plankton, fish feeding on plants. There's more than enough to go around. All of a sudden you get species like sharks coming in and eating all this excess energy present in the bodies of the slightly more evolved than plants animals. And then finally, we have this new action coming in, which is these predators. And that action is also minimized by a new level of evolution, which is intelligent, but it's collaborative intelligence as opposed to cooperative intelligence or competitive intelligence, excuse me. So these two kind of go at it. And that forges what you might call more evolution going forward. So
20
real quick
seconds.
summary, I've got how much?
20 seconds left. Sorry.
20 seconds. Yeah, I'm almost done here. So thanks for listening. Hopefully we can go into this more. I'm interested in whatever people want to talk about. And please don't be shy to reach out. I've got my blog there, and there's a form you can send in with your email. And if you want to talk about anything, especially if you want to understand stuff like AI, LLMs, I'm here to help. Thanks for listening and looking forward to the rest of the debate.
All right, don't mind me. I'm a glorified timekeeper. So thank you so much, Jen and Max, for your introductory statements. I got to fix up our screens right quick. A few things have moved around on the main screen, and don't worry about that, everybody. I'm sure I can figure it out where. Hey, let's see. Max goes here. There's Jen. And Sal, you go over here. And I see everybody. Just don't mind me. Booyah. We're ready to go. Everybody's names matched up, but we're going to do more screen shares, I'm sure. So, Sal, you have up to 6 minutes on the floor. And yeah, thanks so much for coming back to Modern Day Debate. It's an honor to host you. You're on mute.
Sorry, I was muted. Is my screen up?
Yeah, you were ready to. Yeah, your screen is up. So it says, thank you, Jen, Max, Carissa, James, Coons, Ryan, and audience. I'll let you read that yourself, but yes, very welcome, I'll say.
Thank you, Jen, Max, Carissa, James, Coons, Ryan, and audience for making this possible. And what's wrong with evolutionary biology? What's wrong with evolutionary biology? That was by evolutionary biologist John J. Welch. Welch was lamenting he's a Cambridge evolutionary biologist, by the way. He was lamenting about the demoralizing, dispiriting fact that when he attends meetings of other evolutionary biologists, there are laundry lists of problems within the field. The problems with evolutionary biology came to the forefront when another evolutionary biologist, Richard Sternberg, jumped ship and became ally of the intelligent design movement in 2005. Sternberg holds 2 PhDs, one in molecular evolution and the other in theoretical systems biology. The backlash against him by his fellow evolutionists was so severe it triggered a congressional investigation. And more recently, Gunter Beckley, a paleobiologist and curator of museum and a well-known organizer of Darwin Day celebrations, eventually joined the intelligent design movement and rejected Darwinism. Contrast the plight of evolutionary theory with the triumph of real scientific theories, such as represented by the 5 major laws of nature. One of the laws symbolized by the approximations of Maxwell's equations of classical electromagnetic theory. Electromagnetic theory ushered in the modern technological world with light bulbs instead of torches and candles, automobiles instead of horse-drawn buggies. These automobiles require spark plugs, alternators, batteries, lights, and instrumentation, all governed by electromagnetic theory. It ushered in the jet age and space age technology that requires sophisticated electronics and electronically governed manufacturing processes. Electrical generators, microwave ovens, computers, internet, cell phones, GPS are governed by electromagnetic theory. Imagine life without electricity, and that is life without electromagnetic theory. One of the most fundamental elements of electromagnetic theory was the discovery of positive and negative charges by Benjamin Franklin. Imagine then trying to do atomic theory or chemistry without the notion of negative electrons and positive protons. While a physics grad student at Johns Hopkins, I had to recapitulate as a homework exercise derivations from electromagnetic theory that Einstein used to establish special relativity, which led to the age of nuclear power and understanding what powers the stars. You could see the full derivation, by the way, on one of my YouTube channels. I've not known a single physicist nor engineer that rejects the basics of classical electromagnetism within the approximations of classical non-quantum realm. In contrast, there are several leading scientists who reject evolutionism, including Nobel Prize winner Ernst Chain, who co-developed with Fleming the first major antibiotic drug known as penicillin, and Nobel Prize winner Richard Smalley, who was a patriarch of nanotechnology. There is also a large minority of medical doctors who reject evolutionism in favor of special creation or intelligent design. 37% of medical doctors Think intelligent design describes biology more accurately than mindless evolution. Just as telling, medical schools do not teach evolutionary biology. This was in a prestigious paper where evolutionists were lamenting that fact. Who needs fossil-focused, boneheaded science, after all, to do medicine? Add to this physicists, chemists, biochemists, geneticists, microbiologists, molecular and cell biologists, and biomedical engineers, and countless numbers of other engineers. And last but not least, evolutionary biologists themselves that have rejected evolutionary theory. So in the short span of this debate, I'll focus on three major problems with evolutionary theory. The first is the falsely advertised theory of natural selection. In the last 15 years or so, in the era of cheap genome sequencing, we realized Darwinian processes in biology on average lead to destruction of complexity, not construction of complexity. This is the exact opposite of what Darwin and Dawkins claimed. Here's an example. Here's a sampling of such papers. Genome reduction is the dominant mode of evolution. That's loss of DNA. The evolution of genomes appears to be dominated by reduction and simplification. Here's some more. Selection-driven gene loss in bacteria. Evolution by gene loss. I have more to cover. There was a debate with Dr. Dan. I have 1 more minute left. And I asked him, can you name one geneticist that thinks the human genome is improving? That was 4 years ago. Still no answer. That's because they all think we are deteriorating. Exactly the opposite of what Darwin claimed. And second, proteins do not have a common ancestor. I took Aaron Raw to task. You could see this on my YouTube channel, and I'll have Dr. Dan himself, who is an evolutionary biologist, tell you like it is.
We disagree about cellular life, but we agree that proteins don't share universal common ancestry. We disagree about cellular life, but we agree that proteins don't share universal common ancestry.
And with that, thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much, Sal. Here, we'll end the screen share. Thank you for that. And yes, let's welcome Carissa to Modern Day Debate. Yes, we do welcome you here, and I will do some quick housekeeping. Remind our audience, we are going to do a super chat question Q&A, I should say, at the end of the show. So if you have a question for any of our speakers after our or after our intros, definitely get it in early, so it'll be asked early. And I'll also get a poll put up here shortly. We are a neutral platform here at Modern Day Debate. We host debates on science, politics, religion, you name it, and we do hope you feel welcome. So without further ado, let's welcome Carissa. You get 6 minutes on the floor. Thank you.
Hi, I'm just going to give you a brief background about myself, and most of my points are centered around science, but I also have some biblical and also theological arguments. So Sal is going to focus more on the hard science, and I was going to venture more into the biblical and theological arguments. So I am a trained evolutionary biologist, and I worked at the American Museum of Natural History and the California Academy of Sciences, and I chose to study Darwinism to question its validity as a scientific theory. I was open to Darwinism, either convincing me it was valid or not valid as a scientific theory. Today, I am professor of biology at Huntington University. I teach anatomy and genetics lectures and labs, and currently assisting with an ancient DNA project, looking at several ancient bone fossils from various taxonomic groups. I have always been fascinated and passionate about biodiversity, its beauty, its grotesqueness, and its origins. So the creation-evolution debate is a spiritual debate. My boyfriend Craig died of a heroin overdose. He claimed to be an atheist who venerated Darwinism. He hated Christians and mocked the church. It was clear when I cleaned out his room, which was a junkie den after his death, that dark supernatural forces had taken him over, and the theory of evolution encouraged the dark takeover of his soul. He wrote song lyrics that were very anti-God and angry, yet he claimed there was no God. How can you be angry at God if he does not exist? So that's when my creation evolution journey really began, was after seeing what unraveled in his life and his obsession with Darwinism and his hatred of God. I was accepted to do an evolution research experience for undergraduates at the American Museum of Natural History on the morphology of paper wasps. Dr. Kurt Pickett referenced Jesus in the Bible in his explanation of social insect altruism. Altruism exists in animals to help them survive, procreate, and pass on their genes. However, animal odd couples from different species do exist and have been observed cuddling and being affectionate with each other, and this defies the Darwinian philosophy of the selfish gene. For example, a female lioness nurturing a baby antelope oryx in the wild in Africa. Nature has a supernatural component, and this is seen in the beauty and diversity of organisms and the affection between animals of very different species. The affection between different species is in alignment with the biblical Garden of Eden, and the selfishness in nature, such as monstrous parasitism, is in alignment with sin and the fall of man and the earth. The Bible gives a compelling explanation for both the good and bad that we see in the world and in nature. I'm trained in phylogenetics and systematics, and have concluded this is a great tool for differentiating distinct species, but it is not a compelling method for identifying ancestral organisms, such as the nodes in these phylogenies. It is highly inference-based and hypothetical. Intelligent design scientists, creationists, and Darwinists can use phylogenetic systematics as a tool to understand biodiversity, but it provides no certainty about the origins of novelty through purely Darwinistic means. It is a great tool for identifying patterns of speciation and biodiversity, and patterns rarely come about through randomness, but through a designed process. Speciation is a designed, finely tuned process between the organism's programmed genome and its response to its physical environment. Within nature, there is sophisticated programming of body plans, artfully crafted, which elicit awe and wonder in naturalists and scientists. I gravitated towards nudibranch sea slugs because of their ostentatious colors and shapes, which aroused excitement and curiosity and a deep connection to my creator Jesus, which is not Mother Earth and nature, but higher than nature and the universe itself. The Bible speaks to not worshiping the creation, but the creator. Darwinists are unaware they are worshiping the creation, and oftentimes their respective organisms of choice, for example, sea slugs, they refuse to give glory to their creator, but uplift the creation. Darwinism is disguised as science, but is a form of religious paganism. I am done. Thank you.
All right, you got it. We will get into 2-minute back and forths. So I will hand it over to Max and Jen to take the first 2 minutes. I will let you know when your 10 seconds before your 1 minute is up before you hand it to your partner. And
all right.
Yeah, seems to make sense, I hope. So we'll try to get into a flow there, guys, and then we'll get into an open discussion, hopefully later on in our discussion. But I will remind everybody, yes, we are going to do questions at the end. So if you get in the super chats, that's great. All of the debates, I should say, are going to be uploaded to podcast forum within 24 hours of us having them here live on Modern Day Debate. So if you're wondering and listening on podcast right now, where can I find this live so I can actually engage with the speakers in the moment and do super chats and ask questions in the chat and argue with people there? It's a lot of fun. You gotta subscribe to the Modern Day Debate YouTube channel. So let's kick it on over. Max, if you want to start us out as you did at the beginning of the debate, I'll give you your minute, and then Jen, I'll hand you the floor after his minute, and you can cede it when you like. So over to you, Max.
All right. So first, the first thing I heard was a bunch of appeals to authority from Sal, no evidence whatsoever. Talked a bunch about of electricity, nothing related to the topic of evolution. Electricity has nothing to do. I don't really know what to do. Then medical schools not teaching evolution. Yeah, medical schools teach medicine. Evolution is a different field from medicine. But in my opening, the research from the morphology of the Bahau people could lead into medicines and improvement for the treatment of hypoxia. So they are related, but again, completely irrelevant what medical schools teach. And then I'm sorry, Carissa, but I do think that you bringing up this personal case, I think that's a really low, because what can I say about that?
Thanks, Ryan. Can I share my screen again, if that's okay? Thank you. Okay, so I appreciate the time and energy that Carissa and Sal put into their presentations. Also, putting forth ideas that I don't hear very often and sounded kind of new, so that's nice. I guess I would want to ask whether you think thermodynamics can provide a model for how life arises on the planet, and if you would be open to a model that had a mind as the fundamental ordering principle, but if it were an impersonal mind. And so that makes it easier to kind of get across to atheists what the actual idea is. Or are you just gonna stick with, I'm not even sure what model you are presenting, but if we could know, that would be great. And that's the end of my time. Thanks.
All right, 1 minute on the floor there, Sal. Oh, you're on mute, Sal.
I'm sorry, time out. I do have a 2-minute segment at some point. I'd like to.
If you want to do that now, we can get that out of the way.
Then I'd be happy to respond to the queries by the other side. So
you want your 2 minutes now, just to clarify?
Let me get my screen in order. I'm so sorry. I wasn't okay. So let me see.
Yeah, take your time. Well, I mean, no, take your time, but hurry, right?
You see, suppose 20% of a population acquires new mutations. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, how can Darwinism... Yes. All right, I'm starting the clock. How can Darwinism fail? It seems superficially correct. Suppose 20% of a population acquires new mutation, slight birth defects in each generation. What happens? Well, selection's supposed to eliminate that. And this is, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator, getting rid of the bad mutants. Survivors become parents of the next generation. That seems reasonable. But what happens if 100% of the individuals are damaged? And this is the condition of the Muller limit. Nobel Prize winner Hermann Muller pointed this out. And so you can't really eliminate everyone. And this was known by Dan Grauer. He said, if ENCODE is right, then evolution is wrong. The ENCODE project, $1 billion, realized the complexity of the genome leads to this condition. So let me just illustrate. Generation 0, that's the parent. He has 0 mutations. The kids have, on average, 80 new birth defects, very slight. And so let's just pick the best. Even the best has a failing genome. And after many, many generations, even though the survival of the fittest is happening to 1 million generations, it's deteriorating. So why do we have this condition where we keep claiming survival of the fittest actually works? Well, it's the survival of the fittest siblings, not the survival of the actual best genomes. So this is, again, echoing what I saw earlier in the opening, where the genomes are decaying despite sustained fitness
30
gains,
seconds.
where there is loss of complexity. This is the exact opposite of what Darwin claimed. We're seeing it theoretically justified. We're now seeing it now experimentally justified. So Darwinism does not build organs of extreme perfection and complication as he claimed. Just as Koonin said, it leads to simplification and loss of DNA. Thank you.
All right, I'll end the screen share there. I'm going to hand it over to the other side, and then I'll give you a full 2 minutes as well on the floor, Carissa. So just hold on tight, because we did agree to give the 2 minutes to Sal. So quite a bit to chew on there, Max and Jen. So I'll give you the floor there first, Max, as we started out, and we'll just carry on in that format.
All right. So again, we find another fallacy in Sal's argument, a false equivalency. Because in my presentation, I showed that the genetic change is not a mutation, as you're falsely equivocating mutation with degradation. The mutation in this case is an advantageous mutation. So another fallacy is like, are all your arguments along these lines? Fallacy, 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 appeal to authority, and some dude said a thing? That's not how you do science. That's not the way. And I would like to say that in the most cases, the scientists I've spoken with who are religious would tend to say that when doing science, religion stays at the door of the lab. So this idea of trying to shoehorn in the Bible into science makes no sense whatsoever.
All right, thank you so much, Max. Over to you, Jen. 1 minute on the floor.
Thanks. Ryan, I'm just going to quickly share this one page from my slideshow.
Oh, sure. I'll pause the timer there if you want to pull that up. All right, you're ready to go, and I'll start the timer now.
Thanks. I think I caught at least part of what Sal said. Just to recap, did you say it sounded like you were saying there was no evidence of mutations not being deleterious. And I guess I would want to hear your opinion on how Brassica oleracea evolves into these various forms, familiar cabbage, kale, broccoli, cauliflower, and so forth. If not by at least a mechanism that includes a degree of genetic change. If you don't like the word mutation, I'm just wondering, is there something in that you take issue with? Do you not consider this an example of a mutation? Is that all my time?
10 seconds.
Okay. And other than that, thanks for the response, and I'll cede the rest of my time.
All right, no worries. I've just been injecting with the 10 because I find if I say too much, it can really throw people off, and it's very quick. So if I'm injecting, it's probably just to let you know that it's 10 seconds left, unless I say time. Off the floor with you. All right, Carissa, you've been listening for quite some time. I'm going to give you 2 minutes on the floor to respond to some of what you're hearing, whether you want to add to what Sal has presented, or if you want to contend with some of the rebuttals from the other side. So over to you, Carissa.
So Max's examples are adaptation, not Darwinian evolution. And the Darwinists have basically said that if you see these slight modifications, okay, which actually can be reversible, by the way. So those feet of that people group that can climb trees, I'm pretty sure that if they stopped climbing trees over several generations, they would lose that morphology within their feet, and their feet would start to look like a typical normal human's foot. So this is not Darwinian evolution because it's not increasing an organism's complexity. It's just modifying what's already there to help it fit in better with its natural environment and adapt to its natural environment. However, it is reversible and can go backwards. So Darwinian evolution subscribes to the fact that it is in one direction where complexity arises over long periods of time. And we have to infer this on everything that we see in the natural world, because we cannot directly observe it in real time. Okay, so because we can see species formed, okay, that's been observed, and creationists subscribe to speciation. We are 100% on board with speciation and variation within the created kind. So there's a programmed blueprint that's genetic, it's programmed, it's designed, and then that can be modified slightly if it goes to a different environment, okay? If you have migration. So the genetic code is designed to adapt and change, and that is a form of evolution. It's limited evolution, but it is not Darwinistic evolution.
Sorry to cut you off there. Yeah, we do have to try to hand it around the table. But yeah, thank you so much, Carissa. Salvador, we're going to move into the 1 minute for each person on each side. So Sal, you got 1 minute.
Can I share my screen?
You sure can.
All righty.
Wait, she got 2 minutes. It's back to us.
I'm going to give Sal 1 minute just so we can get the flow back, because if not, then we're going to end up doing like 1 minute, 2 minute, 1 minute, 2 minutes. So just if you can hold on for 1 minute, just hold your thoughts.
It's a bit unfair, but yeah, sure.
Thank you so much.
Could I get 2 minutes?
Sure.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I'm totally ignoring Max's stuff. It's trivial. It's pointless. It's irrelevant. Everything I've said is superseding it. He's laughing. You're interrupting me, sir. This is why all proteins do not share a universal common ancestor. I showed this bioinformatic diagram to Dr. Dan, and he had to concede. Aaron Ra had to concede. All those trivial changes that Max is advertising do not solve this problem. It is an outstanding problem. You can laugh your tail off thinking it doesn't work, but it does work. It is a major problem. Major complexity does not arise. Darwin's theory was the origin of organs of extreme complication and perfection. The collagens, zinc fingers do not share a common ancestor. That's a serious problem for evolutionary biology. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for wrapping that one up a little bit quicker. So, Max, I'm so sorry. I am trying to keep things fair. We're going to do just, if we can, just 1 minute back and forth. But if you do want 2 minutes, I'm going to set it at 2 minutes.
I mean, it's only fair. Why would they get, like, in the last round, they just got 3 minutes.
No worries.
It's hard to, like, keep up with this.
I'm malleable.
Back and forth. We could have, like, a regular
I'm malleable.
Let's
not meta it up. Here, you got 2 minutes there, Max, on the floor.
Okay. So I'll start with addressing Carissa. I don't know why this assertion that evolution has to go in one direction. Where did you get that? Is just a statement that you made. Where's the evidence for that? Because in the two cases, the Bahau people, they're getting better lungs and better spleens and better circulatory systems in order to accommodate for their diving lifestyles. In the TOS, you could say that, yes, it's going a little bit backwards, but because it's advantageous to them. So this arbitrary direction of the evolution makes, it doesn't really matter which way we arbitrarily decide what's far forward and backwards. And so the problem with the argument is that proteins are not alive. So proteins can't have descent, and that dismantles your whole argument. And with that, I concede the rest of the time.
All right, you still have 50 seconds on the floor there, Jen.
Yeah, that's fine.
Did you want to, you want to share the screen? Okay. So we are going to hand that on over. So you still have 50 seconds on your side. So whenever you're ready, you're still on mute.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So I remember Carissa mentioned something about a template. So would you accept this as the template, it's the hyperbolic complement of the figure eight knot. It's a bubble with a twirl on the inside that represents the motion of all living matter. And the form of living matter is predicted as a degree of deviation from that original form. So it is a template for all organic matter. Would you be open to a model like this for explaining where life comes from? Thanks for listening.
All right, well, we're going to hand it back on over. So 1 minute on the floor for you, Sal. We'll try to keep it in that same starting order. So, Sal, let's get you on the floor.
I have 1 minute.
1 minute.
So the changes for Brassica, they're small. They're not the kind that can evolve the genes, the code for the proteins I described. This is a serious problem. And as far as there are limits to change, and epigenetic changes are like you can exercise and your muscles grow bigger, but you have limits. The same applies also to inheritable genetic changes. So what Max is describing does not work. There are defined limits. If he looked more carefully at those protein diagrams, he could actually see that there are limits to what you can't evolve a topoisomerase protein into a zinc finger protein. These are hard limits. And when those hard limits are there, it's going to be hard to evolve things short of miracles. And by the way, Jen, you mentioned principle of least action. It's been a long time since I've heard that. Kudos to you. Thank you.
All right, 1 minute on the floor for you, Carissa.
Okay, am I muted or not?
No, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. So those examples that Max gave, of course, they're advantageous to the human and help them survive in their physical environment and adapt to their physical environment, and therefore pass on their genetics to the next generation and have offspring. Okay. But it's advantageous because of the program design within the DNA responding to the physical environment. Okay. So the DNA there is a code, and it's a language, and it has these multiple dimensions to it that all have to be there simultaneously in order for it to actually respond to the physical environment. Otherwise it can't. So so it is not Darwinian. Your examples are not Darwinian because the human is still a human and the feet can change and then unchange. So really nothing huge has really manifested in terms of biological novelty.
All right, thank you so much. Max, 1 minute on the floor.
It is a bit weird that you keep going to Darwinian evolution. We know so much more than Darwin about evolution today and I really wish that you would know that, being as you claimed, an evolutionary biologist. We know so much more. And yes, you're right, they're still human, but it's been observed in roughly like 1,000 years. So the time hasn't passed enough so that they would become a whole new species. But we do have the example of evolution of the species of the mosquitoes in the London Underground, which quickly became a separate species, which could not interbreed with the regular mosquitoes above ground. So evolution is a fact, and you keep saying it's a code and the programmer designed. That's a baseless assertion. You have no way of proving that.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Jen.
Yeah, thanks, Max. Just to add a little bit to those thoughts, I'm still trying to understand the argument with the proteins. I guess the idea, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Sal, like that would be that genes code for proteins, and since there's gaps in the protein structures between species, that means there's a hole in the evolution tree, something to that effect. I'm not actually sure if biologists are making that claim, because there's inferences that seem reasonable that you can make from the posits of Darwinian evolution that don't necessarily follow, at least not in any book that I've ever seen. I just thought it would be an opportunity to bring attention to the issues with materialism when it's used as an approach to epistemology. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. I don't mean to make you think that I'm cutting you off. Yeah, you do have 10 seconds usually when I cut in. So over to you, Sal. You got 1 minute on the floor.
The definition of advantageous, if you read Lewontin and Aryeh, it shows the problem with defining evolutionary advantageousness in terms of reproductive efficiency. I showed earlier a Proceedings National Academy paper said genomes decay despite sustained fitness gains. So even if there is an immediate advantage, it is loss of versatility and capability. So this is like a hot air balloon that's starting to lose gas. And so the crew starts dumping stuff that they need just so they can fly higher. Most evolution works by simplification. This is the exact opposite of what Darwin predicted. We know in the last 15 years this is false. And one study I'd like to cite is decline in IQ because smart girls don't make as many babies as dumb girls. We are losing IQ. That's an example of where, you think something's advantageous and it is actually disastrous for the population. Cite Kanazawa's paper and stop laughing because that's science by one of your own. Thank you.
I think it was the way that you said it, but no,
Yeah,
I see Max down there. No, it's not your turn yet,
I'm sorry
Max.
laughter offends you. I'm not going to stop laughing. I'm sorry.
1 second there, Max. I'm glad that you're happy. Like I said, it brings me joy. But we're gonna hand it over to Carissa. 1 minute on the floor.
So, he was talking about how I keep butchering Darwinism specifically. So I subscribe to changes within organisms, of course, and speciation. Okay. If you denied that, you'd be a complete lunatic. All right. But Darwinism, I keep going after Darwinism because it is insufficient in its ability to explain the origin of the multiple dimensions of the genetic code. So Darwinism can't explain that, right? So it needs to be able to explain that adequately, and at present it cannot. So it's in crisis because of that.
10 seconds.
The multiple dimensions are more complex than computer code, and we know computer code did not form itself. Okay. So that's why we can jump to the conclusion that genetic code didn't form itself through a naturalistic process.
Let's put a little bow on that one. Unless that was it.
That's it.
All right. Thank you so much, Carissa. Over to you, Max. I'm going to give you the last minute on the floor, Max. I should say Max and Jen. And then I'm going to let's try to go into a pure open discussion. So right. I'll give Sal the floor first at that point, but Max, right now you get 1 minute. And thank you so much, Joshua, Jamie. I see your super chat there. We do appreciate the people who are putting in the super chats. We are going to get into the Q&A, but I think hopefully our speakers have gotten a good rhythm of how the other people communicate. Maybe we'll be able to get into an open discussion. So Vesper also put in a super chat. We will get to those guys shortly. Keep the super chats coming in. We really appreciate that. We do have a live event coming up, and it all helps out. Max is doing that. I see.
Make it rain.
Make it rain, says Max. All right, Max, 1 minute on the floor. Thank you so much.
All right. To Carissa, I would like to ask, what are these dimensions? Like, what do you mean about dimensions? I've never heard the term in a bunch of evolutionary debates that I've seen. And for Sal, I'm not sure because I haven't read the paper, but my guess is that you're on a very flat earther move. You're either misinterpreting the paper or you're misconstruing what it says. I don't know because I haven't seen it. I would like to, if I could get a link to those papers to review those, and maybe I can do a video afterwards, but I don't have any way to determine that right now. You understand that, right? And the argument is not very clear, and I'm done.
All right, 1 minute on the floor, Jennifer. Sorry, I was gonna say I got Jen here, and then I got Jennifer, so I had a gaffe. It's fine. So 1 minute on the floor, and then we'll go to open discussion.
Great. Well, thank you so much. other debaters, Ryan for continuing, and audience for being here. I'll just put out a general argument I was thinking of as everyone was talking, like don't want to point the finger or anything. I just have noticed that many have claimed that the absence of an abiogenesis model is somehow a shortcoming or a failure for biology. But just, I want to be clear that science is not really about making ontological assertions about the mechanism of particular happenings. It's about models that make predictions. So there's pretty much no chance that science as it exists would be equipped to come up with an abiogenesis model. That's why I would put it to the creationists, like, can you show us an abiogenesis model just as an example? Like,
10
I
seconds.
believe that mine does suffice as this type of model, but I'd be interested to hear if there's another opinion out there or a source of information. Thank you.
All right, let's try to get into open discussion. I'm going to give it to you first, Sal. It looks like we're doing a screen share to start out the open discussion, so we can leave this up while we move through what is you're presenting here. All right, so yeah, thanks again. We got a couple other super chats that popped in. We really appreciate it, guys. It looks like we're going to have all kinds of questions. I'm also going to put in our chat finally that poll. I was getting some tags for our other speakers the other night, so I'm just getting the poll up now. I'm so sorry. So Sal, let's kick into open discussion. Thank you so much.
Max asks for a reference. There it is, intelligence and childlessness. And it right there says, due to dysgenic fertility, the average level of intelligence is likely to decline. This is natural selection doing exactly what I've been saying this whole debate. I've cited numerous papers. They've been ignored. They've not been hardly considered. They've been dismissed as flat earthism. So there you have it. And there's so many things more that I'd like to say in response. This whole thing about citing these trivial changes, those phenotypic changes are often allele losses. I'm a biomolecular research assistant. I worked for one of the famous geneticists that you saw that I shared on the screen. And so, it's not like I don't know some of this stuff. And I take offense to when you said electromagnetic theory is not relevant. That's one of the 5 major laws of nature. It is totally relevant. Thank you.
Sal, it's not relevant to the topic of evolution. It's just not.
Is it possible that this trend towards childlessness could be evidence of mutation somehow, which would be deleterious? Because the idea is with the mutations is that most of them are deleterious. Most of them do not advantage this species. The idea is that the ones that do are so advantageous that it increases fertility to the point that it justifies large-scale changes over time. I guess I don't see how the loss of fertility is evidence against evolution.
All right, so if I could go back to one of your questions about thermodynamics, that's a complex topic. I am publishing a paper on statistical mechanics and thermodynamics and evolution. And I'm sorry to say, I think it kind of goes against your views. It's too long to get into. But specific to the question is what defines advantageousness? In evolutionary theory, it is reproductive efficiency in the current environment. And what ends up happening is what is advantageous in the current environment in terms of making more babies, long term, it's short-sighted. This is exactly the problem with short-sightedness. It could destroy valuable stuff that's needed in other environments. And we call that loss of versatility. One of the papers I cited was genomes decay despite sustained fitness gains. So even though reproductive efficiency is going up, and it looks superficially that this is advantageous, it's only advantageous in the current environment, it's disastrous. These creatures have lost DNA repair mechanisms. They're going to go extinct. And we're going to win this argument because experiments are on our side in the era of genome sequencing. We're going to continue to find this, and evolutionary theory is going to be wrecked. As far as Darwinism, us beating up on it, and evolution is saying we've discovered so much more. This is exactly why they're having so many problems, because they're discovering more problems. They've actually discovered more solutions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sal. Let's hand it back to the other side right quick. And I do want Carissa to get in here too. Feel free to jump in when you feel like it there, guys. But Max, yeah, you got a few facial reacts there, so I want to cede the floor
Yeah,
to
I'm
you.
sorry. It's
That's
just
all right. That's all part of it.
my face reacts like it's very expressive.
So I wanted to answer Max's question. Can I do that?
Yeah.
All right. Let's go.
So the multiple dimensions would be like the DNA itself, the messenger RNA, ribosomal RNA, other RNAs, ribosomes, proteins, and basically all the genetic processes that regulate all of this. So it is nearly impossible to explain the incremental Darwinistic mechanisms that could create these dimensions because they're all very much dependent on one another. Okay, so they rely on one another. So how does this incrementally come about over long periods of time? Darwinism still has failed miserably at being able to articulate that and explain that. Another question that you had said was, what kind of scientific predictions can creation formulate? Well, one prediction we could formulate is that we would predict to find biomolecules such as collagen and DNA within fossils, because those fossils are actually not as old as Darwinistic philosophy is claiming that they are. So ancient DNA has been discovered in dinosaur fossils at this point, and I think that the laboratory methods that were used to explain how these biomolecules could survive over millions of years is still very, very behind scientifically. And I don't think the explanation is very good for explaining how they could survive hundreds of millions of years. So Darwinism still has a lot of work to do now, especially with the advent of the discovery of collagen and DNA in fossils, pigments in deep time fossils, highly preserved biomolecules. Biomolecules that are billions of years old would not still be there, or even hundreds of millions of years old.
All right.
I could add that, but I don't want to hog the mic.
Just 1 second there,
right.
Sal. We got.
Could I get a reply? Okay. So the problem is that with the dimensions argument is that it's not dimensions. It's different things. Like DNA is one thing, the mRNA is another thing. You're basically just pulling them all together and saying it's dimensions. But all of that, it's natural processes. And basically what you're doing is a hidden watchmaker argument and the false equivalency between the DNA that we call a code or that we quantified in order to understand it. You're comparing it to computer code, and they're not necessarily the same. And now you touched on the MxXxD thing. And I had a paleontologist, friend of ours, friend of the channel, Doc Dino, explain to me the collagen in the MxXxD thing, that they have to dissolve those tissues in acid. It just gets fossilized, and it's extremely rare for that to happen. And in order to get that, you have to put it through an acid bath and a whole thing. It's not that these molecules are just there like all the time.
They're finding biomolecules almost readily in fossils now. It's very common now, so that's not true, unfortunately.
Can you cite it?
Yeah, last I heard, carbon dating
send you
isn't.
tons of papers, but the multiple dimensions aspect, these things are dependent on one another. Okay, like how are you going to form messenger RNA without DNA? How are you going to form proteins without messenger RNA? Like how do these things, how do they come about in a slow incremental step-by-step process when one depends on the other in real time?
All right,
like
Jen.
they have to be there at the same time.
All right, Jen was trying to jump in there, so go ahead, Jen, and we'll hand it over to you, Sal, after.
Well, I guess it's news to me that they're finding this viable DNA on these ancient fossils. As far as I understood, carbon dating is only accurate over a very small time period. I'm looking it up here. It says 60,000 years. So that's what I'm aware of.
All right, let's
It's
Sal
not
here.
the only
like
dating method, though.
well, it sounds like it would be beneficial if we could have some sort of a citation for where all this genetic information on fossils is coming from, because it sounds really interesting. I've just never heard of it.
All right, over to you,
Well,
Sal.
my research group is working on it, so if you want to have more questions, feel free to ask.
I'm sharing my screen. It says Dynamical Systems and Fitness Maximization in Evolutionary Biology. My co-authors are John Sanford, who is a famous geneticist, and Ola Hosger, who is an award-winning mathematician and population geneticist, and William Basner is a emeritus professor in mathematics. You asked for testable predictions. This chapter is peer-reviewed. It's on university library shelves in a $1,500 book. Don't buy it. I don't get a dime. The testable prediction is the human genome and the biosphere will be losing complexity. This is a testable prediction, and there is no geneticist that thinks our genome is improving in terms of complexity. Not a single one of any reputation. We're finding this true across so many species, not to mention when they just go flat out extinct. That is a testable prediction that will play out in the next 100 years. And it's not going to be good for Darwinism. There was a peer-reviewed paper by Kondrashov that said, why haven't we died 100 times over? So we talked about what evolutionists have discovered. They've discovered more problems. That's an example. Kondrashov's paper, why haven't we died 100 times over? Thank you.
Yeah, true. Entropy.
I'm sorry, but could I get the links to some of these papers, or are we just going to get like the titles, or because the
I did a
explanations?
quick, I did a quick look, and there was some clickbait back in 2021 about paleontologists finding possible dinosaur DNA, but it doesn't look like there's much. It sounds like it,
The
I don't want to
Chinese
say it was a hoax, but
the Chinese Academy of Sciences is at the forefront of it right now, and they're using what is it, microscopy sequencing technology, and they're also looking at a nanopore sequencing technology. These are very good methods for looking at very old DNA. That's going to be very highly degraded. I mean, creationists are not going to be like, oh, the DNA is going to be so well preserved. No, we know that DNA is going to decay, and it's even a miracle if it's lasted thousands of years, but it would be even more miraculous if it lasted hundreds of millions of years. Okay, in the case of the Caudipteryx fossil, which is like a bird-like dinosaur fossil. There's tons, like, you just have to do literature searches, and that takes a long time and a lot of dedication and a lot of sweat and labor, but it's all there. It's just whether you're open to looking for it.
I am open. Could I get in the Zoom chat a couple of these citations? Because right now, all I see is you citing papers, but you're not giving me really the chance to even I'm not going to be able to review them now, but even take a look at them afterwards. And I've been asking for a while, like, could I get the citations?
I can send you citations, but
because, for example,
you're a researcher, right? You're capable of doing the research yourself and typing in keywords on Google. It's not that difficult.
Yeah, but I don't know if you're experienced with debates. When you are in a debate and you say, you make a claim, the burden is on you to provide the warrant for that claim. And
I think that's true, but I think you've made claims and you haven't backed up every claim with a citation.
But I can give you the citations. If you ask for them, I can give you the links right now. I have them here. I'm doing it.
One thing to
right
sort
this
of know is
second.
that in science, there are conventions. And we don't, I mean, we're supposed to be open to theories changing and being modified in the presence of better theories or results or whatnot, but there is such a thing as scientific orthodoxy. Like, it doesn't make sense to cite everything, but when you are saying something that goes against what you might call the conventional wisdom, it does help to have a couple citations. And like, I'm just thinking about what type of experiment could establish this ancient DNA, and I'm thinking like how easy it would be to contaminate that sample. Like, even if the rocks are really old, how do you know that the species is actually was formed at the same time as those rocks? It could be some other thing. So
So
it's
in the
nice to
future,
be
if
able.
I do a debate, I will have citations. This is the first time I've ever done a debate before, so
All
I
right,
will
yeah,
more
that,
will be more scientific in the future.
all
Okay.
right, yeah, that's fair. I mean,
I am all about science and literature and not just blowing off steam, okay?
all right, yeah, yeah.
Sorry if
I'll
think that
give you a
about me.
pass on that because it's your first debate. But in general, it's good practice to have like everything ready. So because it's obvious that you won't be able to review the debate in the paper during the debate, but at least you have the warrant to say, okay, this is the inference I'm making from this.
All right.
Yeah,
Not to cut you
generally
off.
you
I
would
think we
like.
do. I think we have gathered all that point. So yeah, hopefully that's all appreciated. It's a little bit of a meta analysis, but all in good spirit. We do have a few super chats in. We still have 17 minutes on our floor for open discussion. So let's try to
I
continue
have a
on.
question for Sal.
Go for it.
Okay, on this paper that you cited about the people having less children, right? Does it consider in the analysis the socioeconomical factors?
Well, that's exactly it. This is the whole thing. Natural selection works until it doesn't. It's not much of a theory. And
Please
now
answer my question,
it's
though.
giving you a negative. This is also showing the fallacy of trying to define fitness in terms of reproductive advantage because it's so environmental dependent. This is kind of a ridiculous measure. I will give you a paper you need to read, and maybe it will sober you. I'm going to give you a paper. You asked for citations. I'm going to give you a paper. Maybe it'll give you some insight what the problem is. It is the confusions of fitness, by Ario and Lewinton. If you want me to type it out in the chat, I can do that.
I mean,
it would be worth the read. See, I'm sorry.
Can you link it?
I can try, sir.
All right.
I'm happy to do that.
This is the
problem.
All of this,
okay.
Hold on. All of this, my question was very simple and direct. My question was, in that paper that you cited, do they account for the socioeconomical factors of modern life which lead people to not have children?
It doesn't matter. I don't remember.
It does.
Sal's internet has cut out.
It's basic as that. That's not very different from the way evolutionary biologists have no stuff on social economical stuff about millions of years ago, and they're making.
Oh no, we're losing Sal. We're losing you, Sal. If you would like, because we are losing your connection for whatever reason.
Looks like he's back.
He is back, so what I would recommend is I'm just going to put us on our big screen here for the audience. Sal, if you want to duck out of this Zoom call right quick and then jump back in, that should clear it up, hopefully. I've had a lot of success, so if you want to just jump out of our call right quick, I'll pull in my imaginary broom and thank you, Sal, and do some housekeeping. So... yes, once again, we have a Q&A coming up. We've only got a little over 10 minutes here on our open discussion. We're going to wait till Sal gets back, and we're going to keep on going. We do appreciate everybody who's put in a super chat already and hit the like button. It's really boosting us up in the algorithm. I do see that we have cracked over the 200 point. Sometimes we can get real wild over here at Modern Day Debate. So if you keep hitting that like button while we are live, like I said, it does help out in the algorithm. And Max is saying raise the roof. Thank you, Max.
Yes, and start sending those super chats in. What are you doing?
I don't know. They've got lots of questions in the chat, but honestly, yeah, this has been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of work, of course, because I've got to keep a bit more time than I'm used to. And
Can I just ask a question to Carissa?
Sure.
Do not. All right, go ahead. Just 1 second, if you can, just maybe I'll give you a second. Formulate just a little bit better. Sal's back in. I do want him to hear your question there, Jen. All right, go ahead there, Jen. We're gonna ask that question now that Sal's back in.
Oh yeah, I was just wondering about the result that Max presented with the tree climbing. Do you accept those results, and how do you account for those results? Sorry if I'm repeating myself.
Okay, so I do appreciate the questions, but our side has not been asking questions of the evolutionists. I just wanted to also let Carissa know we're kind of sort of taking it here. I'm going to take the offensive here, and I will try to get to your question, but I don't think it's fair that we've not posed questions. Where does the collagen come from? Can you account for the initial conditions, and can you describe the process? I could say that of almost all the 20,000 proteins in the human genome that they don't know. So this is a theory of, well, we guess and it happened, we don't know. That is not science. You contrast that to electromagnetic theory. So before you start claiming it as good science, why don't you come up with some experiments and theories that justify your outlandish claims that something as complex as a topoisomerase, a homodimeric topoisomerase can evolve from a tetrameric form from a bacteria? Or how about the incorporation of nuclear localization signals in the prokaryote to eukaryote transition? I could go on and on and on. I talked about laundry lists. So
Sal,
we
you
just
weren't
sort of
kidding.
humored.
You were
We
kidding.
just
You were
sort
coming in
of
hot.
humored your. We're just sort of humored your trivial, inconsequential questions. You need to look at the stuff we're putting on the table. You're ignoring it, trivializing it. These are major problems. These are the problems evolutionary biologists themselves are wrestling with. You act as if these problems don't exist.
All right,
Now,
let's
so
put a bow
Jen,
on that.
back to your question. I'd like to try to
Okay,
answer your question.
wait.
I do accept it.
Okay, he's saying that he does accept it. Just 1 second there, Max. If you know exactly where you're going to inject, just hold that for 1 second. Sal, if you want to just put a bow on your thought there, just right quick. Or
I accept it.
Okay, you accept what Jen was saying.
We have, just like I said, we have epigenetic changes. So when you exercise, your muscles grow bigger, but you don't. There are limits to it. So the same for
I'm
genetic
so sorry,
changes.
Sal. I did give you all
Thank
that
you.
time there, and Carissa's also waiting here patiently, and Max had a thought. So Max, I asked you to hold your thought. Thank you so much. So if you want to go ahead there, and I do want to get Carissa back in here.
Am I going?
I wanted to hand it over to Max. He was trying to get in there.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I share my screen for just a sec?
Sure. That's fine. Anybody want to share their screen? It's been a everybody's getting a fair shot here. That's no problem at all.
This is the stuff that Sal says. I don't know if he thinks that it doesn't exist or that it's not getting done. This paper, they're basically creating the non-proteinaceous cationic amino acids, basically trying to reproduce the conditions before Earth had life on it. And they are succeeding in this. It is quite recent. It's only from 2019. So the research is getting done, and it has been taking results. So this idea that the research is not getting done it's I don't know where you take it from. And I'm going to share it with everyone in the audience. So if they want to read that.
Okay, so I have something to point out.
Sure.
All of that's being proven, okay, about the origin of biomolecules, right? That's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Who is orchestrating it and controlling it in those studies?
The researchers, of course.
And they have an intelligent mind.
Yeah, this is a watchmaker argument
therefore, that
again.
research proves that you need an intelligence to replicate these processes.
This is a watchmaker argument again. We've been through this. It's not convincing. It's not compelling. It's not science.
Just because it doesn't.
You're just saying that
because you
don't want to, because you don't like my argument. You're just saying that because you don't like my argument.
Well,
just
to be fair,
it's an irrelevant paper to the origin of collagen and zinc finger proteins, which happened after the eukaryotic transition. So you need to be a little bit more on target as far as what papers you're going to cite to try to refute my questions. And so that is not progress. And you cited an irrelevancy, and thank you for demonstrating that.
Oh, yeah, everything is irrelevant according to you, Sal. Got it.
Well, you're saying the same thing to us.
No, I
All
just said that I identified that you're just making the watchmaker argument.
Okay,
But
I would like, if you don't mind, just
It's a very compelling argument, just like you think Darwinian evolution is a compelling argument. We're gonna keep saying the same thing over and over again, just like you say Darwinism is compelling.
I
No.
didn't
That's
name
the whole
Darwin
point
once.
here.
all right. I think our audience understands where you guys stand on this, so I think it might be a good point to move on. There's probably not a whole lot more we may explore just on this one issue here. So if we can try to focus on maybe something that we haven't talked about, I do think, like I say, that we've gotten all of our thoughts fleshed out here. I mean, unless you guys want to argue with me and continue on.
No,
I guess
would
I have a
like-
question.
Max,
I have a question, like,
evolutionists, okay?
Whoa now.
What do
I
you-
respect them. I used to be one, okay? But I changed my mind, and you can change your mind.
All right, we'll call that a bow on that one. Sal, I'm going to just hold on there a second, Max. We are gonna let Sal push us into some new territory. All right. I will also let you guys know I'm going to close out the poll, and we're going to do who did you find the most compelling speaker tonight poll. Those are always fun. You get to vote for the individual speaker. And once again, do put in those super chats if you have questions for the speakers. There's all kinds of thoughts getting put out on the table, and we do our best to try to be as fair as we can, especially when everybody's chomping at the bit, and we love that too. So right now, with our poll, and I just put in the simple we came from. So for creation, we have 28%. That's in our live chat right now. 54% are representing in the evolution camp. And 18% say your mother. All right, so we came from your mother. Yes, that's probably true for everybody. All right, go ahead, Sal, you have the floor.
Okay, can you see my screen share?
We sure can.
This is a peer-reviewed paper that was published in Oxford University Press. And my co-authors, some of them are creationists. It didn't matter that we could advance science. We don't need evolutionary theory. Now, the new territory, I mentioned the eukaryotic prokaryotic transition. Change Tan is, she was a molecular biologist. She studied molecular biology to teach it. She became a creationist. That transition is severe. No evolutionary biologist has really solved the things like nuclear localization signals, the origin of spliceosomes, processing of spliceosomal introns, et cetera, membrane-bound organelles, and translocation processes. All this stuff about these guys climbing trees is trivial stuff. This is serious stuff. These are problems that evolutionary biologists are wrestling with. The only reason it's not on the table, it's so bad they don't want to talk about it, and we're bringing it to your attention. The other thing is, why are we so similar to chimpanzees, much more so than humans? That work kind of gives a hint as to why, even though we didn't mention creationism, the whole thing about similarity is about common design. Richard Owen was the one who had coined the term homology, which is basically similarity. It is similarity based on the design of a mind archetype, just like we have archetypes for cars. The evolutionists have distorted that and made it all about common descent. Common design is now going to take priority. We're starting to see it experimentally. That paper kind of touches on it, but there's an even bigger community, the direct coupling community that analyzes protein folds. And there are lots of creationists there. We're advancing science. We don't need evolutionary biology to advance science. It's hindering it. Thank you.
All right. Awesome.
We can study speciation without Darwinism, period.
Oh, thank you. So speciation, so evolution is true. Thanks so much. Sal, don't you think I haven't noticed how you're showing the papers and everything I cited, I posted the link on Zoom, and you can get, I'm giving you access to it. I think there's a reason very specifically why you're just showing the paper, not even scrolling down and not giving me the links. There's a very specific reason, because I think you're obfuscating from the meanings and the actual contents on the paper, but that's just my thought. Now,
You don't know that. You're a
Yeah,
him.
I actually, that's just my thought. That's my opinion.
You
Do
can
I
have
need to
that opinion,
clarify?
but it's very accusatory, and he will provide
Yes,
the link.
yes, correct.
I'm not going to
I've
provide
been
the link.
asking.
I'm not going to provide the links. You can
Awesome, thank
replay this.
you.
You can replay this. You can see the title, and you can Google it. You have the title right there.
So
You have the title right
you're
there
telling
with the
me,
authors. You're telling me you can't look that up when you replay this. I'm not going to
right?
spoon feed you that. Thank you.
So you're not going to do
That's
Control
true.
C. You're not going to do Control C,
I'm not going to
Control
spoon
V.
feed you.
Thank
You
you.
have
Oh
no
my
He
love.
curiosity.
doesn't
Thank
need
you
to
so much.
spoon feed you because you're a scientist and you should just look it up yourself.
I am not a
All right,
scientist.
Let's not
Like,
get
but-
down
You're
to
not a
that.
I mean-
scientist, and you're
No, of-
debating two scientists.
Yes.
All right,
Maybe I
well,
can just jump
that's-
in. If I could
that's,
just jump in.
Yeah,
uh,
all right. Just in the interest of fair, and
Can I
also
just,
Jen, just to wheel us in a bit. Thank you, Jen.
Is it my turn yet? Can I jump in?
Yeah,
Go ahead,
for
sorry,
sure.
Jen.
Thank you. Let's get us
Well,
wheeled back in.
thanks for all the input and everything. And I hope this debate will be a jumping off point for deeper analysis, because a lot of times we can make the mistake of getting caught on the level of definitions when really we should be looking at the underlying mechanism and the processes. So I would just put it to my opponents. Do you have a particular aspect of evolution, the theory, that you see as the biggest problem?
Sal can go first.
Prokaryote, eukaryote transition, and protein evolution. Those are the biggest ones. And I'm not citing anything that I came up with. This is from the evolutionary community. And I cited ex-evolutionary biologists. And we have one here in the debate with Carissa. So
I think for me, it's the existence of the preservation of biomolecules and deep time fossils that is very compelling to me. To me, it suggests that, the fossils are much younger. And I actually have a colleague who's actually made instant fossils. So fossils can be made quickly. Doesn't have to take long periods of time. So I wanted to answer Jen's question. You started asking me a question, but you didn't get around to finishing.
I'm not sure if, I guess you're not talking about the question I just asked. You're talking about something.
No, it was another one, but I never got around to answering it.
I can't quite remember it just because it's
Okay.
been so many different ideas coming in. I don't know
Okay.
if anyone else remembers, but maybe now's a good
Surely
time to
not.
transition to the questions from the audience.
It might be a good time, unless there's something else that you guys would like to touch on. If you're like, hey, this is an important thing that we didn't get to talk about.
I have one.
Okay, Sal, I'll give you the floor.
There have been many researchers that have been hindered because of evolutionary biology. They've been persecuted at my university, George Mason. They were expelled. These are people that are contributing to the advancement of human healing in medical science. And one of them was Carolyn Crocker. I'm seeing this persecution, this lack of open-mindedness. And we have, and it's especially galling that evolutionary biologists among themselves will, outside of the textbooks, highlight all the problems, some of the problems that were highlighted here. I think evolutionary biology has been damaging to the scientific enterprise. This was on full display with the ENCODE, the $1 million exploration, $1 billion invested in exploring the human epigenome. And when the results came in that the human genome was far more complex than evolutionary theory predicted, there was an intense backlash against this advancement. These are cancer researchers just trying to do their job, and they're being hindered because their discoveries didn't accord with what evolutionists wanted to hear. This is not good for science. And this is why, it's so heartening to see someone like Carissa who has advanced despite the backlash against her beliefs. Evolutionism is a religion. There's a book, Darwinism as Religion. This is a religious theory that has no proofs, little evidence, and it's just shoved down the throats of people as real science. It's not, it's faith-based.
All right.
and it's hurting science. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Right.
Sal. Over to you, Max.
The criticism of this being faith-based, when your position is faith-based and you somehow thinking that is some kind of valid criticism, that is whack. And of course, we got a lovely dose of Christians believing they're prosecuted when in America they're the biggest like faith group. Love that. I absolutely love that. And
I think the point he's trying to make is that you claim it's science when it's actually faith. We claim ours is actually backed by faith.
yeah, I mean, if you stuck to your points on saying, yeah, I have this position, but it's faith-based.
Yeah, but you claim that it's science when it is faith.
I'm not accepting that the position of the scientific community on evolution is faith-based. I absolutely deny that. The problem is that you have a faith-based position and you're trying to do science to confirm your faith-based position. That is just bad science. You're just trying to
Okay, hold on. You're doing the same thing. Because you start out with a Darwinian worldview and all your science has to validate that. We start out with the Christian biblical worldview and our science has to validate that. So we're both doing the same thing. It's not any different.
Evolution doesn't have to do with Darwin for like over 100 years. No one cares about what Darwin thought. The evolution, like the field.
Yeah, and that's why they celebrate his birthday every year and they venerate him. Yeah, give me a break.
Yeah,
He's an idol.
They celebrate
He's an
people. Idol. They celebrate people.
Scientific idol.
They celebrate people who did big contributions to science. That's a thing. Like we celebrate a bunch of people that contributed to science, but Darwinism is no longer a thing. I just left
the California Academy of Sciences about 9 years ago, and it was oozing with Darwinian philosophy. So please, Darwinism is still the foundation of biodiversity research.
All right, let's get into the Q&A there, guys. I want to...
Right, can I go to the toilet for a moment?
Yeah, no, that's no problem. Honestly, if anybody wants to use the washroom, that is totally fine. You know, speak now or forever hold your pee. That's how I usually go about this. What's going on, Sal?
I just wanted to say I'm a man of faith. I admit it, though. The problem with Darwinism, I just listed all these problems, and I asked them, what's your proof? They said, we don't know. We don't know. We don't know.
Right.
And
I'm gonna cut you off just right quick. If I can ask you to hold the thought, if you are gonna do more debate converse, let's just wait till Max gets back. You know, we try to do that for all
okay,
the
that's
guests.
fair. Yes, sir.
So
let me just say something nice to Jen then, because I feel really, okay, this is not debate. Jen was on my side in December of last year. She was she was my tag team partner. And I just want to acknowledge her. And I feel bad that we're on opposite sides. And she asked all these sweet questions. I will say one thing in your favor. There was only one guy I know of who's a mate. This has nothing to do with the debate. Sewell Wright, he was a panpsychist, and he's a major population geneticist. Unfortunately, he was one of the 3 founders of neo-Darwinism, but he was a panpsychist. So you do have someone in your camp. I just thought I'd let you know that.
Thanks, Sal. Yeah, it's been challenging, but I enjoy being able to look at both sides of a question, and it's so important to talk about this stuff. It's the stuff that people think is solved and we already have all the answers and it's over and the book is closed. That's the stuff we sometimes really need to look at the assumptions for. So
well, where some of your stuff may have some scientific backing, I was looking at microtubules and the quantum phenomenon and entanglement. That is so just kind of not even materialistic. So right. There's something about the human spirit and mind that may work. That it's not characterized very well with pure materialism. So just now throwing that out there.
Now we're citing what's his name, but like he's really old and it's not his finest work, and he's probably wrong on that one. All the right. Microtubule thing.
Let's move into that Q&A there, guys. Honestly, yeah, we got quite a few already in, and we will be here for a while if we start getting launched into other discussion points. So I will remind our audience, hit the like button, boost us up in the algorithm. We are going to ask your questions, and I do see there, Joshua Jamie, not to ask the last question that you put in about the epigenetic changes. So I will not ask the question, but if you want to... you can put in another super chat. That's always appreciated. But if you just want to let me know in the chat a question that you would like to ask, that's totally fine. So we do appreciate everybody who has put in a super chat. Looks like Sal has stepped out. So I'm going to continue.
Oh, sorry. My cam fell.
Oh, no worries. I thought you may have stepped out for a second, and that's totally fine. I was going to just pull in the imaginary broom and start doing some extra housekeeping. But yeah, we do appreciate everybody in the live chat. I will let you know, just this is just a poll that we do for fun. So I just want to remind our speakers, don't take anything personally here. And don't let it go to your head if you're winning either. This is just representative of who's hanging out in our chat right now and who they might know. So who did you find the most compelling speaker on our panel tonight? Right now we have 111 votes. 111 votes has yielded us 23% for Sal, 46% for Max, 3% for Carissa, and 29% for Jennifer. So that is how the numbers have fell right now. But we have lots of people hanging out in the chat, lots of opportunities to hit the like button and also vote for your favorite speaker. So let us know for sure. Let's get into the chat. Vesper asks, wasn't evolution already put on trial with the Scopes monkey trial in 1925 and it won? When is it ever going to be time to put the Abrahamic God on trial? Ooh, Vesper's coming right at ya. All right, so I'll let you... Well, who would like to respond first?
No, it wasn't settled by the Scopes monkey trial because we
Chris is not feeling it. Go ahead, Sal.
So I mean, it wasn't settled in the fact that we have evolutionary biologists like Carissa here and Richard Sternberg and Gunter Beckley and then others leaving the fray, not to mention lots of scientists like even who I worked for, John Sanford, famous geneticist. His work is in the Smithsonian National Museum of American History, by the way. He was that good, Cornell professor. He became a creationist. So we are finding more problems with evolutionary theory. I don't think the judicial system should be appealed to settle scientific questions. Experiment and theory should settle scientific questions. Thank you. As far as the Abrahamic God, well, you'll see on Judgment Day who's in charge. Thank you. So how about when you die? When you die, you'll get the answer. When you die, you'll get the answer. That's a testable hypothesis.
Yeah, it's not testable because after you die, you can't come back and say anything else. And what I would like to add to this question is, how did you choose between all of the creation myths there are? Like, for example, why don't you believe in Ymir creating the universe and then Odin killing him? Or why don't you believe in the Titans creating the universe and then Zeus killing them? Or any of the Mesoamerican creation myths? What made you choose this particular myth as the basis for your understanding of reality?
That wasn't in the super chat question, so I'm not going to answer it.
No, I am asking that question.
All right, doesn't look like that is...
We're supposed to be answering the super chat, not your questions. The free discussion's over.
All
yeah,
right.
gotcha.
No problem.
Awesome.
Now, I will say that I don't usually mind a little back and forth during our Q&A section, but if you are trying to stick to some sort of timeline, that's fine. But definitely it is totally cool to abstain from answering any question, even the ones that come in on the super chats. Though we would strongly urge, if we can keep the conversation rolling and keep it natural, that's great. But I will ask.
I wanted to say thank you to the questioner. I was a little harsh in the response, but I wanted to thank the super chat. Thank you for donating to the channel. Thank you.
All right, well, no worries. Let's try to get the ladies back on the panel here. Joshua Jamie asks, 14 members of a Da Silva family were born with 6 fully functioning fingers on each hand. Many of them play instruments exceptionally well. Oh, man, I'm jealous now. Does anybody have any comments on that? I think Joshua Jamie is generally in... I think Max's and Jen's camp, very common super chatter on here. Kind of like LJ. I usually know LJ is going to comment for the FE side. So Joshua Jamie, I think is probably going to direct that at you. So Sal, any thoughts on people that have 6
Yes.
fully functioning fingers?
I am familiar with a related situation with the Hox gene cluster in flies in the polycomb repression complex. Little changes to the regulatory regions. These are not gene changes to the gene, but rather the regulators of the gene can cause extra limbs or limbs to appear where they've never been before. That does not solve, I mean, it does show that a mutation can cause a radical phenotypic change, but the changes I was discussing are genotypic and affect the proteins. Those, as spectacular as the phenotypic changes are, it's so much more difficult to, they don't show that you're going to evolve a prokaryote to eukaryote or create new non-homologous protein forms like the ones I diagrammed in my statements.
All
So
right.
that actually is a very good question. It's a great question. Thank you for the super chat. A great question.
All right, you were nodding along there, Carissa. Did you have anything to add on there before we let the other side respond, and then your last comment?
So what I got from that was it's a mutation, and that's the phenotype that results from that mutation, and that's not evolution though. See, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about the word evolution, and I think that's part of the issue behind this debate, that needs to be worked out. Creationists believe in a form of evolution. It's limited. It's not Darwinian, which is anything can turn into anything given enough time. So that's what we're arguing against, is anything can turn into anything given enough time. We're arguing against that. We're not really arguing against change within organisms or speciation, okay? Like, we're not arguing against that. So I think sometimes people just don't understand the difference between what they don't understand what creationists actually believe in. They don't understand that we actually believe in a form of evolution. It's just limited, and it's controlled and programmed, and it's built within the genetic code by the designer.
All right, let's hand it over to you, Max.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I thank you so much for the straw man, because no serious evolutionary biologist or defender or debater or whatever would say that anything can turn into anything. You have a series of sequential steps that over time lead to very different outcomes. So you have tiny changes that add up to eventually being something different. But it's not that you will have a cow giving birth to a dog, the common Mr. Not a Doctor, former inmate Kate Hoven's argument. That's not what people believe. It's gradual changes over time.
I was not saying that a cow gives birth to a pig. Nobody believes that. I'm saying that literally that the transitions between organisms you have transition forms over long periods of time, okay? That is what we are arguing against, okay? That all organisms share a universal common ancestor. We believe that all organisms share a universal common designer, not a universal common ancestor.
I know, but now you've changed what you said between the first time you spoke and now, because you said that anything can turn into anything. That is not what, that's just a straw man.
Okay, if you subscribe to Darwinism, don't you believe that at one time a human and a fruit fly shared a common ancestor?
How long back? Like the
first. Exactly. So the point I'm making,
how far back?
Believe that all the way back. I mean, you'd have to have a phylogenetic tree, and you'd say this is the ancestral node that connects the hominids and the insects. Okay, you know what I mean? Like, you believe that everything came from one organism, okay? So that essentially is the belief that anything can turn into anything given enough time.
Yeah, that's reductionist and wrong.
You subscribe to that ideology.
It's reductionism.
All right. Not that this isn't a lot of fun.
Sorry.
It's all good. Jennifer, did you have anything to add before I hand it over to Sal to close us out?
It's
Sal
okay.
looks like he's intently looking something up. Sal, did you have anything to add to close us out?
This whole thing about additive change, that was refuted with the papers I cited. Granted, these are only
No,
like
it
the
wasn't.
last 15 years,
1 second there.
but I cited a paper that said genome reduction, which is loss of DNA, as the dominant mode of evolution. And then they don't explain how these punctuated changes happen. That's a faith statement. So I've just refuted your points with papers, with experiments. You can look them up. You can replay this and look up the citations. You can look up the evidence. And worse for you, this is a testable prediction. Over the next 10, 20 years, there's going to be way more sequencing done, and it's going to be devastating. That's a testable prediction. That's a testable scientific prediction. Thank you.
Sure. All right.
And we lost our mod.
Oh, no. I was going to say, yeah, see that? Look, there's that handsome face. It's me, only in the alternate timeline where I decided to work out and not play guitar. Let's see if I can travel back through dimensions and summon back the guitar version. There we go. See, this is there we go. We're back to the workout. That's workout me. Anyway, forget about it, guys. That's our going joke at this point. Yes, we're the same person, just in alternate timelines, right? All right. So Joshua Jamie asks, Sal sounds like Kent Hovind saying a dog can't throw the size of Texas, therefore no evolution. There are limits. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Since that was directed at me, I take offense to be likened to Kent Hovind. I have 5 science degrees, and I'm actually in a PhD program, a real one, not like that fake guy. I think, well, anyway, it may sound like that to you, but I cited actual proteins. I cited an evolutionary biologist who agreed with me. He said, proteins don't share a universal common ancestor. I don't know how more plain vanilla it is than that. You can't change a zinc finger into a topoisomerase or vice versa. He would agree with me, and that's why he said what he did. And, he's an evolutionary biologist. So if you're going to accuse me of that, you can accuse Dr. Dan Stern Cardinal of Rutgers University, who's an evolutionary biologist, of sounding like Kent Hovind. This is known in bioinformatics. This is why we're able to identify homologs, because homologs give birth to other homologs in the phylogenetic tree. They don't give birth to a non-homologous gene. At least you can't prove it anyway. And so you may think that, but my argument, I think, is way more sophisticated than Dr. Dino ever said. And by the way, if you're a creationist, please don't follow him. I think terrible.
Wow, that's the first thing you
Scientists
said.
look bad because he's so bad. Thank you.
That's the first thing you've said that I actually agree with. Don't follow Ken Hovind, but I would add also don't follow Sal. He's super wrong.
All right. It is supposed to be his last word.
Hold on. Oh,
I'll hold.
okay,
I'm
yeah,
holding. I mean, if it's really.
I just wanted to
pressing.
say that the idea of like something that is not alive, like a protein or a chain that is just like chemicals, having some kind of descent, that is so weird.
Okay, hold on a second. You were just talking about the biomolecules and their evolution in the lab, the work that was being done. Like, so biomolecular evolution, right? So
no, wait, hold on 1 second. It's not evolution. It's that you put in the elements and you get the arrangement of the molecules, but they're still not alive.
Yeah, I understand that, but evolutionists are still doing that type of work, okay? Because they know it's valid.
Right.
So dismissing Sal's claim is you're being inconsistent, because you're dismissing his claim, okay, of, it's not alive, all right? But then you're saying the evolutionists can do this type of work and it's valid?
No, wait, hold on. Because
that's what you're doing.
Wait, let me explain. I already heard you. What I'm telling you is that this idea of a molecule having ancestry when it's not alive, they don't reproduce, they just form. And the researchers, what they're doing is trying to get the building blocks. And because this is abiogenesis research, this is not evolution research. These are very different things. But what I'm trying to say is that it is very weird to me, this idea of descent from molecules which are not alive.
All right.
May I finish
Sure
the
thing, and
point since
I will
the
let
question
yeah, I will let you respond as well.
Hey,
I'll
no,
just
no,
gonna
no,
let.
no, no, no. I think I understand what Sal is saying. He's saying that within the living organisms,
Well,
you cannot have the diversity and the evolution of all these different proteins. You still require a living organism to propagate the protein.
well, it is best that we
He's
let
saying,
Sal. It is best that
yeah.
we let Sal explain his own thoughts. But I will let our not our super chatter. Well, one of our super chatters know, who is in our live chat right now. I'm getting everything topsy turvy. That yes, we will get to your super chat. Do not worry, it's on the way. So go ahead there, Sal, if you want to clarify your position.
It's ridiculous. You're talking about origin of life. We were talking about the evolution of metazoans, which is after the prokaryote eukaryote transition. Metazoan, one characteristic is the evolution of collagen. It has to come from somewhere, not just stuff lying around. So the evolution of proteins, just like the evolution of genes, the code for the proteins is definitely on the table. And so you could see all these papers about gene evolution, protein evolution. It's ridiculous to be citing origin of life papers when we're talking about the evolution of metazoans and the evolution of collagens, or the evolution of zinc finger proteins in eukaryotic multicellular creatures. I think your science is really lacking here. I'm sorry to say that. If you're going to debate us, please at least read some of the textbooks on molecular biology.
All
Thank
right, that
you.
has to be the last thought there, guys. Thank you so much, Sal. Wholesome Joe asks, Wholesome Joe, what a great name, Wholesome Joe. I have great visions of what you must do on the farm. Anyways, wouldn't adaptation lead to evolution eventually? If not, what is the mechanism that prevents this, other than time via young Earth creationist? Otherwise, net cell over adaptation equals evolution unless blocked by question mark. There's a lot in this question that's kind of difficult to decipher. So wouldn't adaptation lead to evolution eventually, is the crux there.
The evolution in question is the organs of extreme perfection and complication. That's actually the title of Darwin's Origin of Species, Chapter 6, Organs of Extreme Perfection and Complication.
Oh, we have lost Sal again. Did you want to maybe jump in here, Carissa?
Yes. So I think adaptation can lead to speciation, but then there's limits within speciation, typically within either the family order level of classification. So there's limits within the diversification of that group of organisms. So that means that one group of organisms doesn't necessarily bleed into another group of organisms, and that they all share a recent common ancestor, or a universal common ancestor, I should say. So adaptation can cause speciation, but again, I think it's the term evolution. Creationists believe in evolution, a limited form of it. We do not subscribe to the idea of a universal common ancestor, which is Darwinian evolution. Okay, like we need to have a completely different term that intelligent design scientists subscribe to in terms of what is this mechanism, what is this phenomenon that's occurring, and all the mechanisms that are powering it. It's not Darwinian evolution. It's something else. It's limited evolution. Okay. It's even beyond microevolution. Okay. Because it's the speciation level. Okay. So there are aspects of Darwinism that are okay, but there's also a lot that's not okay.
All right, I do want to hand the floor over to Jen to respond to some of what you may be hearing in the chats here, because I know that you haven't had as much airtime in the Q&A here, so go ahead.
I'm not sure what I would be responding to because all the questions so far seem to be aimed at the creationists. Is there something I can respond to?
no,
Like,
that's
I've
no
got
worries.
questions from way at the beginning. Someone asked, what's dualistic about evolution? And I would say that's a really good question. It's really interesting to get into because there's a lot of different ways that things can be dualistic, which is that's the same thing as being not non-dualistic. But as a starting point for understanding how there's necessarily dualism in evolution and really any materialist model is that epistemically, the bottom of our knowledge is perceptual. And if you want to claim that there's another bottom to knowledge, which is material, those are different things. And so that's where your dualism comes in, perception and matter. And there's different ways of expressing that, different kinds of dualism, but that's one way in which this type of model, materialism, which is the superset of materialistic evolution, would be necessarily dualistic.
Welcome back, Sal. Let's just clear the plate there, fellas. Ladies and gents, I should say. I just speak broadly. So let's ask the next question from Wholesome Joe. Did dinosaurs live on the Earth?
Is that it?
That is it. Do you want
I
to jump?
think that Darwinists and creationists would both agree that dinosaurs existed on the Earth.
All right, any thoughts there, Sal, before I kick it over to Max?
Yes, I'm going to also try to restart my computer in the other room. So sorry to cut my camera. I'll try to listen in to the questions.
No worries, we can hear you. So it's no worries. Max, did dinosaurs live on the Earth? And
Yes.
maybe you could
But
give
I
some
think
insights.
I think Carissa should say if dinosaurs coexisted with humans, or
It's very, very plausible because we're very intelligent organisms and we could fight off the large carnivores. Okay, I mean, come on, we've lived in groups and we had weapons and we could fight off the big dinosaurs. Okay, don't give me the the dinosaurs were so big, like they couldn't, we couldn't walk side by side with them.
Ooh, we're doing voices
it's
now.
not about
like
it's
it.
not about if we could fight them. It's about the dating of human fossils and dinosaur fossils. So what I find
The
strange is
dating
that
method is based on uniformitarianism, okay, which was a paradigm that came about before Darwin. Okay, so all of these things were the fossil dating is, you are absolutely certain that those ages are accurate, okay, for those fossils. I'm not certain about that, okay, and I'm open about that. But you are absolutely certain. You think that the dating methods are valid.
of course.
I think that the dating methods, there has been examples where they have fallen short.
All right.
So, and those, of course, those are always left out because they don't fit in with the paradigm.
All right, I think our audience gets where you stand, and you did get asked your question, Max. So
okay.
I think in fairness, let's carry into the next question. I'm going to go into, just for the sake of the fact that it is a sizable super chat and that they were asking about it being read. Lane Hill says, Sal and Carissa, there was a typo there. Sal and Carissa are believers, and their wisdom comes from the Holy Spirit. It has nothing to do with mythology. It's actually logic. Max, it's clear you're a hater of God, and you will have to face God.
Love it.
Do you have any thoughts there, or anything you'd like to say to Lane Hill?
I can't hate something I don't believe in. So I love your passion, but I don't hate God because I don't believe God exists.
All right. Well, thank you so much for answering their question. Let's go back up here. Sydney Raptor says, Jen, Max, please cut through the protein evolution BS. All right, what's going on with that? Jennifer, did you want to start out there asking? Jen, please cut through the protein evolution BS.
Well, the idea that one has to account for these changes in proteins sort of implies things that evolution theory may not itself actually directly imply. The claim, and I think Max mentioned this, it's not that proteins, which are considered not in themselves self-replicating, that the theory is not trying to account for proteins per se. It's trying to account for the overall changes to the species. And so you could say that asking for people to account for protein changes is modifies, shifting the goalposts in an advantageous direction, because that's arguably not the claim made by evolution, though it could be inferred to be the claim. Right. Which would require one to go into the specifics of the mechanics about what's determining what. And it becomes difficult to do that when a lot of times you have to carry out so many experiments just to get a basic idea of what it is you're looking at.
So I have a point I want to share. I studied sea slugs at the California Academy of Sciences, and I was very interested in the marine natural products of sea slugs for drug discovery purposes. And the scientists who studied the chemistry of nudibranchs and sea slugs would actually study the natural products that would come out of them and the novel chemicals that, so just like you discover new species, they would discover new chemicals from organisms in the ocean. And then they would actually try to understand how these chemicals could connect species and ultimately track evolution through time. Okay, so if evolutionists and Darwinists are certainly fine with doing that with natural products and marine organisms, they should be totally fine with doing that with proteins, because it's a primary metabolite versus a secondary metabolite, which is what I was talking about in the sea slugs, to actually understand evolution. And if you can't find links or patterns that suggest links and connections between groups of organisms in the proteins, that is definitely valid. Just like it was valid that the scientists I studied or worked with would look at the secondary metabolites of sea slugs, which were toxic anti-cancer compounds, and they would try to understand, okay, well, how do these, can we look at their chemistry to understand speciation and evolutionary relationships? Okay. So if you can do that for that, then you should be able to do it with proteins, and it's valid.
All right, Max, you've got some thoughts on your face. If you want to pull them out, that's fine.
No, I was talking with someone in the chat. Yeah, right, it is. Let me go and see. Remind me of the super chat here by our good friend Sidney Raptor. Cut through the protein evolution. Yeah, I think that Sal kind of changed the argument, and I caught this happening a couple of times during this debate. That he said, "Oh, these proteins evolution," kind of like implying that they would somehow have some kind of descent. But now, when I pushed him on it, he said that the protein evolution within a cell, and I do have to admit that I don't have the specifics on it. And I would like to touch on something else that Sal said, that I should have read these books on evolution. I acknowledge I am a layman. I got notified of this debate on Tuesday, and I try to put my best effort. I'm not an expert in this. My two fields of expertise are music production and the English language. So yeah, I am lacking in some aspects, but even if I was a scientist, I wouldn't have had time to read a book between Tuesday and today.
No worries, buddy. I mean, despite all that, you know why I don't debate.
Why?
Because I just get nasty real fast. So I just host, because that's where I get to be nice Ryan.
I have another point that I'd like to make.
I'm bad. I'm real bad. Go ahead.
Organelles, right? The endosymbiotic theory. Are you familiar with that theory, Max?
No.
Okay, so the endosymbiotic theory is basically that mitochondria were once a type of bacteria. Okay.
Oh, that got, yes,
Yeah.
that got kind of
So the
incorporated.
thing is
for
that
sure.
organelles are not living, and yet they're trying to explain their origin, you know, just like they are with biomolecules. Okay, so organelles aren't living, biomolecules by themselves are not living. The only basic unit of life is cells, right? So that's where life begins, and yet evolutionary biologists are trying to understand the evolution of organelles and the evolution of biomolecules. So you can't say, you know, proteins aren't alive, so it's not valid. I mean, that's like most evolutionists, you know, don't believe that.
Again, another obfuscated semantic argument. Of course, they're trying to view the evolution of the organelles while contained on cells, but like the language in which you say stuff is kind of important. So
yeah, the point I'm trying to make is that evolutionists try to understand the origin of things that are not considered living, such as biomolecules by themselves and organelles by themselves.
Right, but the organelles are always inside the cell. This is another semantics argument.
Let's carry on.
Moving on.
I don't know.
Let us do.
You're dense.
Oh my. Okay.
You have no idea. I'm actually being quite nice and pleasant.
Well, yes, and honestly,
Could I
yeah,
address what Carissa said? Because I think it is actually seemingly not a bad point, just for a minute.
Well, we do have a few time constraints as far
Yeah,
as
okay,
I
never
remember.
mind.
But okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that, Jen. But yeah, no, I guess somebody. What's that, Patrick Fancy? Patrick Fancy, actually, I know this guy personally. Really nice guy in the live chat. Great singer. Sings for a band. It was Freedom Front. Yeah, buddy, thank you so much for hanging out in the live chat and sticking up for me. It takes a lot to do this job, honestly. Not just the timekeeping, but just keeping the peace. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, as most people don't know that there are time constraints, so let's forward this through as I scroll on through your super chats. Thanks, everybody. Will Stewart says, "Hi, Jen. Long time no see. Glad you are still debating." So thank you, Jen, for coming back out to Modern Day Debate. We do appreciate you being here. It has been a while.
Thanks. I hope I can get on again real soon. I love the debate topics, and if there's ever going to be a debate about AI, I'd love to participate, even if it's just a panel. Thank you.
AI. Hey, that's great. I was just about to ask, hey, what's something you'd like to participate in going forward? Since our audience here, or at least Will Stewart, is very jazzed to see you back, and I'm jazzed to see you here too, Jen. So thank you so much for being here. Matthew Wilson says, Sal, you've got a problem with evolution, but how do you throw out all the evidence we have for it? I haven't heard a coherent alternative.
Maybe you have.
What I'd like to know is why can these people define what they mean by evolution? Like, I don't even think they know what they mean when they say that.
The only one that's making semantics argument is you.
Can you repeat the question? Was the question directed at me? Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, let me just scroll back up. I am sorry. Yeah, a lot of the live chat is saying Jen got the least amount of time. I should have let her go ahead, but thank you, Jen, for trying to push this forward. So the question was, Sal, you've found a problem with evolution, but how do you throw out all the evidence we have for it? I haven't heard a coherent alternative. Coherent, yeah.
Even if you don't have a coherent alternative, you can still tell that the prevailing theory is either incomplete or just plain wrong. I already pointed out examples where it's been falsified regarding evolutionary fitness and the decline of complexity over time. Genomes decay despite sustained fitness gains, and genome reduction is the dominant mode of evolution. So I already put that on the table. So even if I don't have an alternative, doesn't mean that evolution is right. The other thing, as far as I'm not throwing it out, the problem is it's lacking stuff. It does not explain the origin of major new non-homologous proteins. Now, you can look, a Wikipedia article says de novo gene birth, genes code for proteins. So when I say proteins, I'm also talking about the evolution of the genes that code from them. That's a shorthand that evolutionary biologist Dr. Dan Cardinal obviously recognized that, apparently Max doesn't quite understand the central dogma of molecular biology here and its relevance to the evolution of de novo proteins. So it's a little frustrating to talk to someone who's just opining about stuff he doesn't even study. So, that's part of the problem here is I'm throwing stuff on the table and Max is just like, oh, I don't understand it. Sal must be wrong.
I never said that I don't understand it. I actually don't. But what is funny is
That's
that you
obvious
say
you don't. Thank you.
is funny is that you're saying, oh, I've given this and this and that, and yet when I asked you to actually give me the paper, you said that you weren't going to even give me the link. You can't do Control-C, Control-V. So that shows how dishonest your position is.
Oh,
And I'm pretty
right.
sure I am actually
All right.
correct in the fact that you're either misquoting the papers or just using the titles as like a, I don't know, like a clickbaity thing.
All right, we got
That's
about
my
7 chats
hypothesis.
left. Ben DeBoss says what Max said. So
Yes,
I'm just gonna,
awesome.
I'll just inject that there since you just finished saying that Ben
hold on,
DeBoss
because
wants to.
I saw that one come. What Max said was when I asked, he sent it as soon as I finished asking the question that Sal refused to ask.
Okay.
That's the question he wants.
Because you talk about
Yes.
yourself in third person just now. Anyway, let's carry on.
Oh, did I? I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just thought it was kind of fun. All right, Matt Schultz says, how do you account for vestigial organs?
No, wait. Can we get that question? Because I didn't get that answered. A super chat spent money to ask that question. Could we get the question answered?
All right. If you want to clarify the question, Max, I don't
Yes,
want to.
I won't do the whole question. It's why among all of the creation myths that exist across the whole world, why that one in particular?
All right, over to you, Carissa.
I can give an answer to that.
All right, let's give you the floor there, Carissa, and yeah.
All right, so I think the reason that most faiths or most religions at this point on Earth have a creation myth is because we were created. That's why. And there is one absolute truth out there. Okay.
That wasn't the question, though.
And
the question was why out of all of the creation myths that exist,
I'm going to answer that. I'm going to answer that. I'm getting to it. So okay. I chose Christianity mainly because of my science background and what I was seeing in cells and biology and the molecular machines. That's one reason I chose Christianity. The other was the Shroud of Turin. Are you familiar with that?
Sorry. Yes, it's fake.
I mean, at least you apologized, I guess. But my goodness.
Oh my God.
Okay, so all of the physicists and all of the doctors and the anatomists and the people who study the human body, physiologists, botanists, they're all wrong. Okay, the only piece of information that was off with the shroud was the date, and they fixed that. Okay, the date was dated to the medieval time because they fixed the shroud. Okay, they repaired it. It's the burial cloth of Jesus. Okay,
no, it's not.
Like there are. It is the most well-studied artifact by science.
We are gonna have to have that debate going forward. It seems like I've hosted 2 debates in a row where the Shroud of Turin has become a focal point. So we may have to just.
Because I thought the question was also directed at me. I have 10 seconds to respond.
I mean, yeah, it takes some time. That's fine.
Okay.
We're all kind of just.
I'm gonna share my screen here just briefly. This is Darwinism as religion.
Yeah, we're way zoomed in.
It's written by a atheist, and so that I've shown why. There's one myth I'm definitely not gonna buy into. That's Darwinism. So there's at least one little step of progress why I'm a creationist, because I don't believe in Darwinism.
All right.
It's
Sure.
religion, and I don't
Still
accept
doesn't
it.
answer the question,
Another
which I
myth.
made specifically to you, of why Christianity over the literal hundreds of creation myths.
I
But
just
it's okay.
Darwinism
I
is one of
understand.
them. I just knocked
shroud.
off one of them. I
The
just knocked off. That's
shroud.
progress. That's right.
Okay, hold on. The shroud is
But
extremely
Carissa, you
well
already answered. I was asking Sal specifically. Your answer doesn't
Oh, okay.
apply. Why Sal
Okay.
chose?
So, I mean, rather than let's, like I say, if we want to do a meta-analysis on the, the individual person's faith or religious identity on the screen, we can do that another time or arrange a debate down the road. I don't think this is the time or the place for that. So, Carissa is the best debater I've seen. This is from Donkler. So there's a super chat fan for you, Carissa.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah, it's always nice to see people who are just here to let us know that you like what you're seeing on screen. And also, we will have all of our speakers who do have links. We will have them linked in our description. So if you like what you're hearing from any of them, and we have their link, definitely see that in the description and see more of them. Isa Kabir says, for my co-host from TMTS and Hermano Max. All right.
Hermano. The H is silent. Hermano.
Hermano.
That's brother. Yes, that's
I'm
brother
sorry.
in Spanish.
My bad.
Thank you, Isa. Isa will be hosting the after show. Everyone is invited. Open panel. We can discuss the debate. So be sure to check us over at Matters Now right after the debate ends.
I feel so Westerner right now. I don't know pronunciation of words.
I look forward
All right.
I look forward to being totally torn apart by people I don't know.
All right. Well, at least you have something to look forward to, I guess. Full thumbs up. All right. Vesper says, no God on trial, but theists' existential threats. I think I did see this one come in right after, as Sal had mentioned, about finding out at the end of our lifetime. So I think that's probably what that's in reference to. I do remember seeing that come up and thinking that might be a read-in, but Sal, you can respond to Vesper. I think it's more of an accusation saying that you're making a threat with that statement. So you can go ahead and clarify for Vesper, and we'll let the other side respond.
Well, it's just what I believe, and it's not. Hey, I'm not God. I'm not the one that's going to judge you at the end of time. I believe he's there. You'll have to deal with him. And evolution and abiogenesis have not proven anything of substance that you don't need a creator. So I didn't mean it as a threat to you. I mean, I'm not God. God is God. But thank you very much for the super chat. There is a testable hypothesis. Humanity is going to go extinct, and it's going to go extinct a lot faster than we think, because genetic deterioration is real, and there's no salvation in evolutionary theory. So at the very least, you have a zero proposition by holding on to a theory that's on shaky scientific grounds, and it offers you no hope and purpose. Thank you.
2 notes on that. Evolution is not supposed to bring salvation because it's a scientific theory. It doesn't care about salvation or God or anything. And the other one,
it basically
can I finish my point uninterrupted for once, please?
I know.
Could I finish my point uninterrupted?
All right,
for
without the
once?
meta, let's go ahead there,
All
Max.
right.
There's been a lot of open space here.
My second note is, I'm not judging you, but you're going to hell. So shout out to that Christian love always present in the house. Thank you so much.
All right, and just to be fair, there have not been that many interruptions tonight, so let's just we'll just try to carry on with that in mind. Carissa, did you have anything you wanted to add there? There was some injection.
So there's a thing called tough love, and actually that's what Sal and I are doing for you right now. It's tough love is also a type of love. So
yeah,
threatening you should look up the type. You should look up what tough love is. Because we're debating you because, at the end of the day, it's nice to win an argument, but at the end of the day, it would be nicer if, you came to the other side, you know what I mean? Like ultimately. So
I was 5 years old
because
when I noticed.
because I care about you. I'm not just this egocentric scientist. I actually care about people and their souls. So I just wanted to say that. I know I've been kind of rude to you, but I got to be feisty because you're feisty.
All right. Next question. Matt Schulz says, how do you account for vestigial organs? Let's hand it over to you, Sal, if you want to start out. How do you account for vestigial organs?
That's not, I'm in the molecular side, I'm not on the organismal side. So thank you for the question. That one actually is outside of my specialty, but I don't trust paleontologists. We've seen them flip like Gunter Beckley. And so, what they characterize things, we know things called vestigial actually are pretty functional, like the appendix was essential. It was pretty important to as a backup to the immune system. So I'll explain it as mislabeling at the surface. And the other thing is, it's very good that we have creatures, we call this model organisms, creatures that are similar enough to us that we can use them to run medical experiments. That is the explanation for some of these similarities and even what we might call vestigial parts. It does help us that other creatures have these features. So we run these very cruel medical experiments like at the National Institutes of Health, and we can figure out medical cures. This is highly valuable. So that's about the best answer. I'm not the physiologist, but there is a physiologist here in the panel. Maybe she can weigh in.
Yeah, so my understanding of vestigial organs is that is an old Darwinian evolutionary kind of idea that's sort of just being perpetuated in high school textbooks and also college textbooks still, even though it's been debunked by science. So from my understanding, like the appendix, for example, yes, we can live without it, but it still has a purpose and function in our bodies. Okay, everything that's in us has a purpose and function. And it's been studied at the cellular and physiological level. So the appendix assists with the immune system. So everything, this idea that there's just remnants left over in organisms, I mean, it's only like a piece here and a piece there, and like that doesn't really help with the transition idea between organisms and the evolutionary idea of missing links and stuff like that. Like vestigial organs don't really help with that.
All right, we're going to try
I
to...
don't think vestigial organs
Go ahead,
is
Jen.
actually an argument against evolution. I think it's actually readily predicted by evolution, because the idea is that the environment changes and the species evolve towards being optimized for the environment. And if the environment is always changing, then what they're evolving towards is also always changing. And as you move towards one thing, you're moving away from something else, which means that some organs that may have played a larger role in digestion will come to play a smaller role and then be perceived by analysts at one point in the historical record as, oh, this is vestigial because it's not absolutely necessary to maintain an appendix, for example.
Well, I think when they say vestigial, my understanding is that it has no function, not a lesser function. And that is not true.
Well, even if it were true, I don't see how that would be a contradiction of the evolution model. It's perfectly consistent with the evolution model, especially if the environment's changing. Why would there be necessarily a loss of a complete loss of an organ?
All right, we will carry into the next chat. I see that Melanoid put in a super chat, but there's no question there. But I will say some of the things they put in our live chat, I don't know.
Yeah, they're going wild.
I don't know about you there, buddy. You've got some issues, it seems. Maybe you need to go check that out. But honestly, no. If you're just being a character and you had a question, legit, put it in the live chat. If not, I'm just going to assume you're a troll. And thank you so much for giving us your troll contribution. All right, so Wholesome Joe, thank you so much for your super chat. Says, why does everything end up as a crab? Also, organism you're most passionate about. So this is for you, Jen. Let's try to keep this for the side that they're for, just to bang these out. So, why does everything end up as a crab, Jen?
Well, I don't think I would go so far as to say that everything ends up as a crab, but there does appear to be a trend for certain types of bodies, animal bodies, where over time they tend to look more like a crab and not deviate out of that
Now,
position.
are you a big crab fan, or do you have another organism that you're very passionate about?
I really like crabs. I think the reason that they are
Oh no, this is
so
going to be a
prevalent
clip.
is because, sorry, am I coming through? Yeah, the reason they're so prevalent is because they're optimized for the domain. So there's the horseshoe crab called a living fossil. Pretty much anything that's a living fossil. Not all living fossils are crab-like. That's why I'm saying it's not for everything that's going to evolve this way. But there are several crab-like species, as well as this horseshoe crab, which is not actually a crab, but looks like one. And it appears to have not changed for a very long time, which to me would say that it's optimized for its domain and that its domain is not changing very much over time. Thank you. And my favorite animal, the organisms I'm most passionate about is humans.
All right, Joshua Jamie says, Sal getting excited that a single scientist agrees with him, or citing a single paper that he helped write to support his views is laughable, considering the incredible amount of research opposing. If you have any thoughts there, Sal?
I cited numerous scientists, including Nobel Prize winners, one of the co-developers of penicillin. I cited numerous medical doctors, biochemists, chemists, physicists, microbiologists, and I didn't cite just my stuff. I cited numerous other papers, including one by Linsky, Cauchy, and I mentioned others by Ariu and Lewontin. So thank you for your super chat, but your premises are wrong, and so therefore, yeah, your claims are wrong. But thank you for the super chat.
All right. Well, let's carry into the next one.
We're
Josh.
still waiting on the links, though, and I just wanted to say that this is my favorite organism.
Oh, I like that. Who's this?
My turtle. Or tortoise,
cute.
actually.
What's his name?
It doesn't have a name. It's a tortoise. If you call it, it doesn't come.
Still have a name.
I was gonna say
Our turtle has a name in the genetics lab.
I just got a baby rat recently. I named it Bella. Actually, I should say my son named it Bella. We went through a list of names, but surprisingly, they're very cute creatures, very much like dogs. Only you don't have to take them for walks, but you generally have to hold them at least once or twice a day because they're very social. Yeah. Anyway, that's my weird little thing. Me and Evidence of God were having like a full-on after show where we're just like, and I have this as a pet, and I have this as a pet. Anyway, we always have a lot of fun just hanging out in the Zoom call afterwards. So let's see here. Next question. Joshua Jamie says, the formation of the first cells is up for debate. You can present your research, but don't act like you are valiantly fighting scientists by doing so. That is also for you there, Sal.
I'm sorry if you were hearing me type. I cited a evolutionary biologist in the debate. He wants to come to my after show on my channel. And he was the one I cited about the protein orchard. So we can actually have an intelligent discussion with someone who's actually knowledgeable in the topic. And that's why I was rushing. I'm so grateful to you, Dr. Dan Cardinal, Rutgers University, for watching this debate and hearing me, and your interest in wanting to join me. So can you repeat the question? And thank you for the super chat. I apologize, I didn't completely understand it.
No worries at all. Let's see. The formation of our cells is up for debate. You can present your research, but don't act like you are valiantly fighting scientists by doing so. I won't ignore that shade you just threw there, Sal. You're funny. That was funny.
Okay,
All right, go ahead.
I'll say this. I don't view evolutionary biologists mostly as scientists. They are fake scientists. They're real science is electromagnetic theory, and that's why I took time to show what a real scientific theory is and what it does for the world. So I'm not fighting scientists. I'm fighting what I believe are dogmatists that don't have evidence. They're pushing a faith-based theory and pretending it's science. When I ask tough questions like prokaryotic, eukaryotic evolution, I'm not talking about the first cell or the evolution of metazoans without collagen. I get just crickets. So they put in the textbook that it evolved, and then when I asked how, they have no answers. That's the definition of faith-based, not science-based. I showed what real scientific theories are. So thank you for the super chat.
Thank you so much,
The
Sal.
common
no
flare
last
system.
no last thoughts there,
Okay.
Max. We got to move on to the
Okay.
next one.
All right.
I know it's fine.
All right,
it's
I
fine.
said all right. Yeah, sorry.
I know you're cool. You're cool. I'm like
Of
I
course
like
I am.
teasing once I start. But thank you so much, Sal. I appreciate you answering the question there. Dustin Buck says, "Much love, Sal. You are the man. I miss talking to you. You should do lives again." This is from Dustin Buck. So, did you have anything you'd like to say to Dustin Buck?
Yes, I have a live show. I'm inviting Carissa and Dr. Dan Sturden Cardinal. It's going to be on my channel. I haven't had a live show in ages. So, Dustin, there you go.
Love the
Which
jealousy.
is coming.
He said
What
he said he loves you, Sal. Okay.
I love you too, man.
I was
I
gonna
love
say,
you, man.
I was
There
gonna
you
say
go.
you can't deny it. You can't
No,
deny
don't
it.
misquote
All right.
me.
All right.
I said love the jealousy.
Okay. Let's carry on. Matt Schultz says, "Fine, Ryan, I'll pay more money since you skipped my first super chat." Yeah, I'm bad like that. I didn't actually skip it. I did get it eventually. It's just we've been a little slow. Please explain the vestigial hind limbs in whales. This is more than speciation. So hind limbs in the whales. More than speciation. Did you want to jump in there, Carissa or Sal?
I think that's a very good question. And there's a debate in the creationist community how to explain that. And I'm really sorry. Thank you for the super chat. That's out of my field of expertise. So,
I think I have an answer, but I'm not sure it's correct.
yeah, but I don't think just our lack of explanation somehow rescues evolutionary theory from all the problems that I have listed. As I said, even John J. Welch has their laundry lists. So thank you for the super chat. I'm really sorry I don't have the answer for you.
No worries. All right, you wanted to input there, Carissa?
Yeah, I could be wrong about this, but I think I might be right. I think it's they identified it as having a purpose as structurally, and it has something to do with, I think, the reproductive system of the whales or mating of the whales, but they identified a purpose for it. So, they're not vestigial. Now, I'd have to double check this to make sure that it's accurate because I do not like giving out incorrect information. But that's what I'm thinking of off the top of my head, is that it is not vestigial and that scientists have discovered a actual purpose for it.
All right. 1 second. I'm turning off that projector. I just realized, man, that's burning out the light in that thing. All right. Alex Rowley says, "Do evolutionary biologists study lies for years?"
Good question.
I think that's probably directed at us.
I think
A mistake
so,
is not a mistake is not a lie. And people, thankfully, like Richard Sternberg and Carissa, they had studied evolutionary biology. I believed in evolution, and just because someone says something untrue doesn't mean that it's a lie. A lie is something intentional. So I think these are honest mistakes to some extent. They're kind of getting sketchy at this point, given what we actually know and giving the laundry lists of problems with evolutionary biology. That's all irrelevant in the end, because experimental evidence will settle what's true or not. And right now, the experimental evidence is not looking very good for evolutionary biology. And I cited I cited those papers where of selection-driven gene loss. This is really bad for Darwinism.
All right, Jen, you've
Sure.
got some face reacts there. I want to let you in here. So go ahead, Jen.
I'm not even thinking about anything. I'm just really enjoying all the contributions from the chat. I won't name names, but thanks for keeping it super interesting.
Yeah, there's some
Salute
interesting.
you, live chat.
There's some interesting folks in there, full of comedy this evening. You guys are great in our live chat. We appreciate you. Hit the like button once again if you're hanging out in the live chat. Yeah, no, they do make me laugh from time to time. When they're not being absolutely brutal, but sometimes I'm brutal too. But I will let the live chat know. Don't you know that my side won? This was the joke before we came in, right? No, your side won. Anyway, Ben DeBoss came in and said, "Explain a pharyngeal. I can't say this word.
Hold on, I'll help you.
Pharyngeal.
Pharyngeal, yes.
Slits.
Pharyngeal gills.
Gills, yes, gill slits in all vertebrate embryos, even though they go away as they develop, including on land only animals. This was very strangely worded. I'm so sorry, but go ahead. So explain pharyngeal slits, gill slits in all vertebrate embryos, even though they go away as they develop.
There are lots of things that go through an apoptosis pathway we don't fully understand. There is one benefit, and this is, I alluded a little bit to it in my Oxford paper when I showed it, is that human biology is very well understood by studying other organisms. They have a piece of the puzzle to help understand human biology. That's why medical researchers will look at pigs, fishes, worms, even plants, yeast, and bacteria to understand human biology. We have to be extremely grateful that there are creatures that have elements of them that are very similar to what we have. Even if it doesn't express itself, it might give us an insight into developmental biology. So my explanation is, and it's a testable hypothesis, we will be extremely grateful someday that we have these things that, as you said, they will disappear, but we'll have insight as to what purpose they had in the developmental pathway. That's a testable prediction. So just assuming that we evolved is wrong. We have to go with ONS homology, not Darwinist homology, and then you get the answers.
All right, thank you so much, Sal, for answering the question there. I do want to get Jen and Carissa in here too. I know a lot of the questions have been towards Sal and Max, but yeah, definitely let's try to get you two in here with your thoughts as well. Unfortunately, though, the next question starts out with Sal. So Pointless Pappy says, Sal, there was one scientist per claim that agreed with you. I could do that for pretty much any claim. It's not proof.
Agreed. By the way, thank you for the super chat. I didn't mean it as proof. It does prove that evolutionary theory does not impede great scientists from being able to do great science, and yet it's shoved down people's throats like it's so essential, and it's not. That study from the medical schools that don't have it, it's not as essential as embryology. It should make you question how essential evolution is to biology if people are able to do biochemistry, cellular physiology, et cetera, and do all these great medical things, win Nobel Prizes. You have to question then how useful it is. Contrast that again with electromagnetic theory. So I was really, the point was I wasn't proving it was wrong. I was proving it was useless. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sal. And yeah, don't mind me if I seem like I'm reading the question with an air of bias. I'm usually just trying to emulate the super chatter as they have put their question in. So Melanoid has said, please give
That's
us.
a troll super chat.
I know, but I'm trying to have fun with it. Among Us penis.
Yeah,
Oh,
but I was just trying to warn you because sometimes it happens that you know what we talked about earlier.
Yeah, it does happen, but it generally like, what are they gonna do? I don't understand. Like Ryan said a thing, a super chatter put in a thing, and Ryan spoke it. Oh, my pearls. I clutched them so hard they disintegrated in my hands. All right, Pointless Poppy says more data on the other sciences is equivalent evolution pseudo.
Wait, what?
Yes. There is a quote by evolutionary biologist Jerry Coyne who said, in science's pecking order, evolutionary biology lurks somewhere near the bottom, far closer to the pseudoscience of phrenology than to physics. And by the way, electromagnetic theory is part of physics. So even you have an evolutionary biologist who said, an evolutionary biologist himself who wrote the book, Why Evolution is True, he had that to say, that it lurks somewhere near the bottom. He exactly made the point. Whether he meant it or not, that's true. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat.
All right.
Can I get a word in on this?
Yeah, let's have a little back and forth. That's fine.
The fact that some sciences have direct applications, and the fact that evolutionary biology is mostly about just trying to understand, that doesn't mean it's any less important, because understanding some aspects, like for example the Bauhaus adaptation, that could have serious implications in the medical field for the treatment of hypoxia. So even though it is somewhat more less applicable in the real world, it could have and definitely has had applications in the world. It's just that, yeah, it's more conceptual and less applicable, less like experimental.
Did you have any final thoughts there, Carissa or Sal, on this question before we go into our closings?
Could you repeat the question again? Do you mind?
More data on other sciences is equivalent evolution pseudo.
I don't know what that means. I don't understand the wording.
Well, I agree. I thank you for the super chat, whoever wrote it. And we're just trying our best to understand it. But when you actually do look at other sciences and compare it to evolutionary biology, it's exactly as what Jerry Coyne said. So that's what I have to say. Now, the thing about, we're not disputing that there's change. We believe in descent with modification, but some of the modifications are the things that are in question, like the eukaryote, prokaryote, eukaryote transition. And so yeah, I would say it's useful to see how things change intergenerationally in human beings. That's an important. And one of the things that's important is we're finding we're losing genes. We're losing genes. They're being disabled, and we're losing intelligence. We're getting sicker and dumber. This is an established fact.
Yeah.
I noticed lately in my closet I have only pants. My jeans have been going missing. Anyways,
You're becoming a dad now, just like always with
Yeah, well,
the sweatpants.
Well, I was gonna say I keep wearing them when I'm using a chainsaw, and they get all caught in thorn bushes and stuff, and I ruin them, and then I come home, my wife is just like, you were wearing your good jeans again today, and I was like, they were cozy, and she's like, they were, as she puts them in the garbage, because she's like, you're not allowed to wear these again. Anyways, well, let's get into those closing statements there, guys. I do appreciate the discussion tonight. It's been a lot of fun. We have Evolution on a trial. We have Carissa out for a debate, a debut. Thank you so much, Carissa, for coming out in the sport of debate. We know it's not easy to enter into a space like this generally right off the bat, so we do appreciate you being here and
Thank
to
you.
share your thoughts.
I enjoyed this process. I actually thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, we hope to see you back again, and I do have one last chat that just popped in. If we can entertain it on our panel. Pointless Poppy says, Sal says evolutionary biologists are not real scientists while agreeing it exists, just not very few specific examples are known to be debated.
Can you repeat the question? I want to honor this last super chat.
Yeah, I was gonna say I will repeat it because I don't think I honored it with my my emphasis and the syllables of these super chats. Maybe it's just my Canadian way. I just read things funny. Sal says evolutionary biologists are not real scientists while agreeing it exists, just not very few. See, this is where it gets weird. Just not very few specific examples that are known to be debated.
I'll do my best to try to understand the question. I said evolutionary biologists.
Yeah, help me out.
I said compared, and I cited Jerry Coyne, compared to physicists and people that actually work with things like electromagnetic theory, where it's testable, you have experiments. Evolutionary biology does exist. I cited Michael Roos. He wrote a book. He's an atheist. He said Darwinism is a religion. So I'm not saying get rid of evolutionary biology, maybe reclassify it as science fiction or religion or both. And then I'd be happy. Put it in the religion department because it's faith-based. I'll give you an example here. There is, I'm not going to, I could share my screen, but I'll just read this. The Long Winding Road to Eukaryotic Evolution. They said, part of the nature of these deep evolutionary questions is that we will never know. We will never have a clear proof of some hypothesis that we're trying to develop. So you have no way of proving it. You believe it. You have no evidence. That's a definition of religion. That's the problem with evolutionary biology posing as science when it's faith-based. And it's right there from the mouth of an evolutionary biologist. You can look that up, The Long Winding Road to Eukaryotic Evolution.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sal, for answering the last question there, and giving us a whole lot of energy for the last super chatter. We appreciate you, buddy. Let's go in the reverse order that we started in. So, Carissa, not to put you on the spot, but I'm going to give you a minute on the floor to give your closing statements on not just your thoughts on our discussion tonight, but other things you might want to talk about in the future. So, Carissa, the floor is yours.
So I still firmly, strongly believe that the creation, Darwinian evolution debate is a spiritual battle. And the reason I believe that is because Darwin himself was a very troubled soul, mainly because he lost his daughter, who was also a naturalist like him. And he was devastated by this, emotionally and spiritually. And I think that's one of the reasons he concocted his theory, was because he didn't understand how God could allow his daughter to die at such a young age. He was really trying to grapple with that. And so he concocted a new theory to get God, the creator, out of the picture. And he formed the theory of naturalism. And he was a troubled soul, and he had issues with mental health. And so I really do believe this is a spiritual battle. And I believe that as human beings, we are, in our sin nature, we are going to gravitate towards an idea that means that there's no accountability. And if there is no God, there's no accountability. So people choose not to believe in God because they don't want to be held accountable. And also, so that's why they gravitate towards naturalism and Darwinian evolution.
All right. Thank you so much, Carissa, for coming out to Modern Day Debate. It's been a pleasure. We hope to see you again for lots of more juicy debates. And like I say, feel free to send us an email, whether me or James, and let us know, any other avenues you'd like to explore on the channel. We're always open to ideas. And also you in the live chat, if you're, also got a hankering for debate and you're not of the shy variety, you can definitely send an email to moderndaydebate@gmail.com or bc.adt@outlook.com is myself. You can email me or look me up on the Discord in the Modern Day Debate. But I should also mention, the Discord exists as well. So if you aren't so brave and don't think you can come on the actual show live, you can check out our Discord, and we have all kinds of live voice chat rooms that you can try to exercise your debate chops. You guys got to calm down with those super chats, though. We got 2 super chats that came in. They're both for you, Sal. So I'm gonna give them to you. Just knock them right out of the park if I can ask you that, and we'll get into your closing statement. So I Killed Earl says, we don't care who you cite, Sal. We care what you cite. They put that in capitals, so go ahead there, Sal.
Well, care about what you want to then. I gave you the facts, and you can look it up themselves. It's not who. The more important thing is I'm citing the experiments and research and theory. Why don't you look that up and look at the facts, not the people, and you'll see this is falling apart.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Sal. Next one came in and it says, you considered evolutionary biology fiction, yet you have repeatedly agreed it's real this entire debate. Any thoughts to Joshua, Jamie, to close us out?
Well, thank you for the super chat. I think you're equivocating what I mean. I accept that it is a religion, therefore it exists. It's a faith-based idea. It's not really empirically based, and I cited what evolutionary biologists themselves have said, that these questions we will never know. We will never have clear proof of some hypothesis. So it's real that they believe it. It doesn't mean that it's true. So I'm making the distinction there to kind of cut through that equivocation. So, but thank you anyway for the super chat.
All right. I want to let our audience know this is absolutely the last super chat. We're winding down. All of our speakers are under the impression of, okay, I'm going to get to go and do my thing here soon and not be on screen and completely scrutinized by all of you in our waking thoughts. So thank you so much to Joshua, Jamie, and I Killed Earl. Thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure, and it's great that to see you in the live chat again. You've put in another super chat, and it's for you, Carissa, if you don't mind entertaining this right quick. It says, modern evolutionary theory is not Darwinism. You've been arguing a straw man this entire time. We've moved on. So anything you'd like to say to I Killed Earl? This is the last super chat. I'm not reading any more after this.
From my understanding as a biodiversity researcher, Darwinism is still very much a part of biology and the study of organisms, and being able to differentiate between them, understand the speciation, and ultimately, like if you build a phylogenetic tree, if you're looking at diversely different taxa groups, like for instance, like cats or dogs, or just as an example, if you're going to build a phylogenetic tree, that whole methodology, the phylogenetics and systematics, is founded on Darwinian evolution. So I really don't know what you mean by we're beyond Darwinian evolution, because I know most biodiversity scientists, microbiologists, or organismal biologists are still using phylogenetic systematics, and that's directly in alignment with the idea of Darwinism, where there's a universal common ancestor. And he even built the first phylogeny in his book on the origin of species. So I don't know what you mean by that.
Well,
I think
just because
that-
I know.
think that-
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. That's fine.
I think that obviously Darwinism has advanced a lot because of its understanding of genomics, but I think the more we study genomics, the more it testifies to programming and a design more than it creating itself, that something had to create it. So I don't really know what you mean by we're past Darwinism. I would have to say maybe there's a facade of being past it, but really you're not past it.
Well, I was going to inject just to say, just because I do know, I've had conversations with this individual. I think they would say that, well, just based on your response, you're saying that the idea is still rooted in the Darwinism. It can't escape that, because I think what they're trying to say is that it has moved past that and become something else. And just to clarify for the super chatter, you're saying that doesn't matter. It's still would fall under the realm or under the umbrella that you are
Right. So
presenting.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah,
They would
go
say
ahead.
like comparative genomics would be considered part of evolutionary biology, but it's also rooted in Darwinism, but it's called comparative genomics now.
All right, you can't ask for much better than that. I did what I could to try to clarify your question, and we'll kick it over to you, Sal. Thank you so much for answering that question there, Carissa. I know it's asking you a little extra after I already asked you to close, so just trying to pull some more out when you thought you were off the hook. I'm so sorry. Sal, you got 1 minute on the floor.
I will be having an after show, and hopefully Dr. Dan Stern Cardinal, who's an evolutionary biologist, will be joining me. I've debated him for 4 years, and it should be a fruitful discussion. I'd like to thank the panel here and the moderator, and James, the host, and the audience, and the people that submitted super chats. In science's pecking order, evolutionary biology lurks somewhere near the bottom, far closer to the pseudoscience of phrenology than the physics. That was the words of evolutionary biologist Jerry Coyne, who wrote the book, Why Evolution is True. My whole thing is, until evolution starts to elevate itself as a real science, it shouldn't be shoved down the throats and shouldn't be used as a litmus test to whether someone's going to be a great scientist or not. This is a terrible development. And finally, Darwinism is a religion. See that book by Michael Roos. And testable prediction is design will prevail.
10 seconds.
Design will prevail, and the genome will deteriorate. We're going to get dumber and sicker, contrary to what Darwin said. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sal. I will continue to look for those genes in my closet that keep going missing. I had to have fun with the play on words. And Jennifer, over to you. I'll give you a minute on the floor. Thank you so much for being here, Sal, and also to Carissa and your closing statements. So we got another screen share. You've only got 1 minute on the floor, so go ahead there, Jen. I've got your screen share up.
Thank you so much, Ryan. It's been a great debate. Thanks to the panel, my debate partner, Max, Carissa, Sal, and thanks to the audience for tuning in. It was really interesting debate. I'll be researching into the mitochondria and protein question about what was brought up but didn't fully get addressed. I noticed some people in the audience said I wasn't being harsh enough. I prefer to err on the side of being polite so that we can keep the good ideas and good debates flowing. I hope to come back soon, hopefully on a topic that is a little bit closer to what I am currently interested in, which is AI, namely ChatGPT, which I recently used to generate an over 18,000 word essay using only 2 original prompts. And you can check that out at schoolofentropy.wordpress.com. If you just go on and click on the, right now it's the second link, but what it's called is videos, slides, documents, and PDF. So there's tons of information there. It's the most recent one. You can check it out and just see how much you can really get out of the technology, especially if you know what you're doing. Send me a message on the blog if you're interested in chatting under contact. There's no stupid questions. I've been teaching this stuff for a long time, and I'm always interested to share what I know with sincere seekers. Thanks for your attention.
Well, thank you so much for coming out to Modern Day Debate. We appreciate you there, Jen. And also, yeah, definitely shoot me an email because that is definitely something that I'm personally interested in hosting. Would be a debate about recent technology advances, especially in AI. If you have somebody that you have in mind that is maybe hyper skeptical about this technology, as it seems like you are fairly embracing of it, let me know for sure. It sounds like a lot of fun. So with that, let's hand it over to Max. You've got 1 minute on the floor, and thank you so much for your patience.
You are very welcome. So this debate, we had Carissa throwing strawmen and bad arguments left and right. I am going to echo the sentiment of the side chat that Carissa is not a scientist. Sal, we're still waiting for those links. So those citations that you claim you made, meaningless. Jen, thank you so much. I'm sorry that we didn't get to touch on your ideas, but I'm pretty sure that we could go into a debate on your idea of evolution against my idea of evolution. It is kind of weird that you scientists your butt kicked by a layman. That is hilarious. And of course, the real after show is on Matters Now. Sally's just jealous and doesn't dare come on to continue talking with us. Everyone is invited, open panel. We'll meet you right there. It's live already. Matters Now. Isa's hosting. Join us. Thanks so much. Ryan, you rock.
I try my best to rock, and I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. I feel my voice coming back. I could do another set now. So let's let our panel go, though. Thank you so much, Sal, Carissa, Max, Jennifer. It's been a real blast. And yeah, I hope to see all of you back again. And once again, special thank you to Carissa for coming out for your debut here at Modern Day Debate. Appreciate it. Like I said, I know it can be a little bit much sometimes for the first time, but yeah, we definitely hope to see you again. Yeah, this has been great. Definitely hit the like button. Subscribe if you're, like I say, new to debate. It's not the deal breaker here. You know, you can participate in the debate as long as you think you have the ability to present your information in a compelling way. But if not, check out our Discord at Modern Day Debate. Maybe you can get your chops up to par, and we'll see you maybe sometime up here. In the meantime, let's let this panel go and try to keep it friendly, guys. Thank you again. See you next time.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Have a good night. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Time, all of my life, living in a world of regression, tyranny's mixed with self-oppression. What am I to do but tear away when I'm boiling at the top? Try to find a way to fight the fire, smart to rap from the minds of liars, and call the shots as you bow your heads, and the march never stops. The stars could be free, but this insanity bends you right by the knee. Running in circles now for something that can't be found. And I bet as you hit the wall, the rain starts to fall. You can run away, sing a tune that's true. I'll be beside you. To decay from tears of blood, regrets of laughter. Turn around as your heart beat faster. Your hollow shape as the faith begins to drop. Shelter can find your thoughts of suicide. It's hanging down by the fray. Running in circles now for something that
that can't be found, and there's no time for today. You prayed away that the world would be untrue. I will rise against you. Insanity bends you right by the nail. Running in circles now for something that can't be found. Out of breath, smash the wall. The water consumed all. You prayed away that the world would be untrue as it rose against you. Did you think it would always be for free? Now sit back, watch it burn, burn, burn for all eternity. Alrighty, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in for the Evolution on Trial and your nice thoughts there, and all the super chatters. That's great. Chris G, good song. Well, thank you. You know I'm all about the music. Another person said, "What a lovely gravelly voice I have." Well, thank you. I felt like I was going to be a little raspy tonight. I came in from doing a jam. Um, yeah, it was one of those times. I got home. I had about 15 minutes to get everybody in the room, change all the names on the Elements page, and get it up and running. But we made it. And then tomorrow I have a little performance I have to do, and then I just get to crash out and hang out with the kiddos. Maybe we'll just put on the projector and play some Super Mario. That's always a lot of fun. I highly recommend that. They're very cheap right now to get a projector and get some gray, very light gray paint, and just turn your room into a projector room. You have nothing to lose. What's that wall for anyways? Just some crummy pictures that nobody cares about? Just make a projector out of it. All right, let's see. Lots of people we're hanging out in the live chat tonight. We do appreciate you guys. It's kind of getting down into the nitty gritty of the true modern day debate. Sickos, you guys are sickos. You love the debate. You just want to hang out and just get into it. See, I have this thing where it's like I have a personality that is held back. It's like I said to Max when we were closing up the show. He asked, "Do you want to come to the after show?" And you're welcome to go check those out. Sal's doing an after show. Max is doing an after show. We definitely encourage you to check out our speakers that were on screen. But I just find I get so firebrandy about my own views, and then people don't think I can be unbiased as a moderator. And I assure you, I can be unbiased as a moderator despite having bias. And you have bias too. So, don't mistake yourself if you think that you could come on here and keep a straight face. I mean, there's been so many moderators, not just on Modern Day Debate, but on other channels that when there's not something that's actually comedic happening, they don't keep a straight face. And, I find that this causes a lot of people to put their fingers in their ears and say, okay, well, the moderators teamed up against my guy. I just put my fingers in my ears and say la 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 when the other guy's talking, and I just get to engage with the person I already agree with. I don't know if there's a whole lot of value to that, so I try to remain as unbiased as I can so that hopefully you're engaging with the actual individuals on screen and you don't feel like, okay, well, the space is actually making this impossible. So thank you guys for all of your thoughts. I see Arminia's a what proper FPV Skiklab von Sparta, and you guys are all having a little back and forth there. That's great. Any naturalist. Yeah, you guys are the most active right now at the end of the chat. It's great to see you at the end of the show. If you haven't already, the few that are watching still now, definitely go and hit the notification bell for our live upcoming event. It's going to be a lot of fun. As far as I know, I mean, I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be honest with you, but James is going to be there. It's October the 14th. It's Destiny and Owen Shroyer, and they're debating Trump or Harris. So if you're into the political debates, and I love political debates almost more than anything, definitely hit the notification bell on that one. So I'm going to let you guys know our poll. At the end of the day, we had 252 votes. All right. So I'm going to end the poll, and then you will see in the chat, Max has won at 43%, Jennifer at 26%, Sal at 22%, and Carissa at 7%. We do appreciate everybody who participated in the chat. It always helps stir up more conversation and lets us know who is tuning in for the debate. the metrics, that is, anyways, for sure. We always are trying to expand our reach. So, like I said, share this out in the spaces that you like having these debates. If you have a Facebook page or an Instagram wall and you're like, hey, this was interesting, I think you should check this out. We do appreciate it. There's all kinds of other debates on Modern Day Debate, like I say, that are of interest. And once again, regardless of if you think that the debate that's happening on screen is a modern day debate, the debate points, the arguments are being made in the modern day, and it is important to know how those debates can evolve, right? If you're not up on the evolution of certain talking points, then all of a sudden you have these situations where, this is a huge organization or a huge group. How did that happen? Maybe we should put them on screen and highlight what those good and bad ideas are and try to move forward from there. So thank you guys for all of your super chats. Thank you guys for hanging out and keeping the live chat friendly. Wasn't a whole lot of moderation going on in the live chat because you guys were just being your best selves. Let's close it out. Ryan's tired. I gotta play a show tomorrow and scream at people for money. Screaming at people for money is the best type of money. I don't know if there's any other musicians in the crowd, but if you know, you know. All right, have a good night, guys.
Self-oppression, what am I to do but tear away when I'm boiling at the top? Try to find a way to fight the fire, smart to rap from the minds of liars, to call the shots as you bow your heads, and the marching never stops. The stars could be free, but this insanity bends you right by the knee. Running in circles now for something that can't be found, and I bet as you hit the wall, the rain starts to fall. You can run away, sing a tune that's true, I'll be beside you. To decay from tears of blood, regrets of laughter. Turn around as your heart beat faster. Your hollow shape as the faith begins to drop. Shelter can find your thoughts of suicide. It's hanging down by the frail. time for today. You prayed away, the world would be untrue. I will rise against you. To the